A very good evening, everyone. Thursday nights are made for darting, aren't they? And this is the second part of that three-course meal of darts you're going to see here this evening. It's the MODUS Super Series. It's the evening session. Group B getting underway this evening. We've got a 10-time world champion, a former Lakeside world finalist, and a UK Open quarter finalist amongst the fantastic five-player field in action here this evening. But before we look ahead to all the action that is to come later on over the course of the next 3 hours, let's tuck into what happened earlier on this morning when Group C got underway. Jack Waring got his first win of the week in his final game of the session. 2 points on the board for our ADC qualifier going into the final day's action. As for Scott Baker, the mod, he only picked up 2 points, but perhaps disappointing compared to the performances that he's put in so far today. We saw from Steve Haggerty 4 points from his 5 matches. Got out the blocks well, but perhaps I feel like an opportunity missed as the session went on. And probably that would be the same feeling for John Michael, the Greek player we got on show here at the Super Series this week. He won each of his opening 3 matches, then went on to subsequently lose his last 2. As for Mike Warburton, he got over the disappointments of Group A quite well. He picked up 4 wins from 5 on his opening day. But it is Reece Robinson who is the man to beat overnight. He is top of the pile on legs difference, having won 4 out of 5 himself, including this 1-3-8 finish in the game against Warburton. Yeah, it really was an interesting morning in Group C. The asset, Paul Nicholson, has joined us refreshed, revitalised for an evening session here in Group B. But before we look ahead to that, let's have a look at how the land lies in Group C, because that was an intriguing league table, which is still maybe developing still.
I'm still trying to process some of the things that happened. I did a lot of stat crunching before we started this evening. Just looking at the averages for the players, I think Scott Baker has got every single right to scratch his head. But I think I was really impressed with Reece Robinson. I know he's at the top of the table, and it's really easy for me to say that. But the consistency levels he delivered today were very, very encouraging, and a bit of a worry for the rest of the field. I think maybe the most disappointed person, funnily enough, is probably going to be John Michael, because he was at the top of the table for most of the campaign, but just started to falter at the end.
Well, let's have a look then at the numbers then for Group C, what we saw over the course of the 15 games that we saw. So 87 legs. 38 of them won against the throw, which has kind of proven that actually the throw was powerful at points, but maybe not all the time. Yeah,
I would expect those numbers to be different. You can see that the quickest lead came from Scott Baker, obviously, because he's the quickest player that we've got here this week. But the overall average, that's pretty encouraging. 85 and change is kind of what we expect to get from these players. But maybe we're going to get a little bit more from them tomorrow with that little bit of urgency that Matthew Edgar's talked about.
Is the interest tomorrow in terms of where the middle of the table find themselves over the first couple of matches?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you've got someone like Reece Robinson or Mike Warburton and they're just shooting on and continually winning, then they may not be caught. But the first couple of rounds tomorrow will tell us what the story's going to be.
Well, this evening sees the beginning of Group B. It's our final group of the week to get underway. So let's see how the week looks then in general at the MODUS Super Series. We saw Matthew Dennett win Group A, but tonight in Group B, we're going to see Alan Norris, Trina Gulliver and Jamie Kelling join Conor Heneghan and Sebastian Bialekci from Group A.
Yeah, good fun. I mean, you talked about how we've got a 10-time world champion. We've got a Lakeside finalist in Alan Norris, and obviously Bialekci has done some great stuff over the last 12 months. I think this is a lovely mix of what we can expect. On himself, when he won against Richie Parkin in the final in Super Series 2, I think he understood that he was probably ahead of where he wanted to be. So he comes back here. I don't think there's much expectation on him. It's not going to come from me. It's not going to come from anybody else. He can just go up there and do his thing.
Well, let's have a look then at what your fellow commentary colleague Matthew Edgar thinks about this evening's action. He's got a 4-to-1 treble accumulator. Remember, if you are having a flutter on the MODUS Super Series, it is 18+. BeGambleAware.org. That is what prime time is going for this evening. A mixture of different markets. Most 180s handicap betting. Highest checkout 4-to-1. That 18+. BeGambleAware.org. But our first match this evening sees the 10 times champion of the world, Trina Gulliver, in action. She takes on Sebastian Bialekci. And last time we saw Trina Gulliver here, we saw some really, really good stuff, especially as the nights went on here at the Super Series. What do you reckon she would have learned from that experience that she can put into this time?
With the amount of experience that she has, I don't think there's much that she hasn't done or experienced. But the thing is, when you come to this venue, you still have to get used to the rhythms of playing game in, game out. There's not a great deal of round-robin stuff over the last 25, 30 years, apart from the Grand Slam and maybe some stuff overseas. So maybe this is just something a little bit different, and she just needs a bit of time to get used to it.
You ready for Group B?
Absolutely.
So let's get on. 10 fantastic matches on your Thursday night of Tungsten Treats. Owen Binks is your referee on the stage. This man's going to make the run down to the commentary box. Got the sprinting shoes ready?
They'll do.
They'll have to do, because he's joining Matthew Wecker. Evening, Matt.
Evening, Henry. Good evening, everybody. Group B action kicking off underway. 10 games come in this evening, and we'll conclude tomorrow evening with a further 10 games are kicking off with a 10-time ladies world champion. And that's the one that we sort of go with quite a lot, but she has pretty much won everything in the ladies game. A 6-time World Masters winner, and also a 5-time winner of the Dutch Open.
Trina to throw first. Game on.
The Dutch Open is one of those events we spoke about quite a bit this week, and for good reason, because it's one of those events that is mightily hard to win. Huge entry numbers, often around the 5,000-6,000 in the male game. And when Henry asked Paul Nicholson upstairs, what would she have learnt from last time? I think Paul Nicholson's answer was spot on. There's not much that she hasn't learnt in the game of darts so far. She's been awarded an MBE
60
for her efforts in the game of darts. Now residing in Southam, which is quite a popular little village in Northamptonshire for
130.
Warwickshire, actually, should I say. It's right on the border between the two, where we've seen some talent come from that area. Steve Beaton,
59.
world champion in the male ranks. Ted Everts, world champion in the youth. So that's 12 world championships between them. And then you look at other players that are in that sort of area, like The Undertaker, Nigel Hayden, not too far away from there as well. You also got Kevin Painter living quite close. It's quite a little hotbed of darts in that area.
Yeah, not to mention, Matt,
100.
obviously Ted Everts is someone you've just mentioned. But when Dawson Marshall of Canada decided to relocate when he got a tour card, he decided to move there. Not just because
58.
it was close to a friend of his and it'd be good for grounding himself in the UK, but secondly because the scene is so competitive that it would allow
85.
him to
Sebastian
sharpen his game up, and it is an area
132.
of the world that has always been strong.
Well, Alan Norris used to live there as well. He used to have a house right next to the football ground.
104.
Alan Norris will be coming up
Trina
later on this evening.
97.
Could be first blood to the Golden Girl if she can find tops.
77.
Chance is gone, and
Sebastian
Bialekci has a chance to
28.
break in leg one. That's quite fortunate. He thought that might have hit an 11.
Game
You might as well take the look when you can get it.
Sebastian
And that is a very
Bialekci.
fortunate, in the end, break of throw for Sebastian, who this week has been playing
Second
at a
against
pretty
Sebastian
high
to throw
level.
First. Game on.
He can consider himself just a little bit unfortunate that he didn't maybe get closer to winning the group in Group A.
95.
18 points, leg difference of plus 10. And if you compare him to Conor Heneghan, who you will see in Game 2,
85.
over 3 days, 30 matches that they both played, they were split by 1 leg. Plus 10 for Bialekci, plus 9 for Heneghan, and they both got 18 points.
180.
If that is not proof of just how close Group A is, nothing will be.
Sebastian Bialekci
100.
in his shirt that reminds me a little bit of a Welsh shirt, and we've obviously had the announcement of the World Cup today from the PDC, though it's going to be moving to a pairs-only event. It's actually going to be expanded to include
137.
nations such as France, which will be good. We see Thibaut Tricol here quite regular, somebody who was the runner-up in the WF World Championship as well, so I think that's a good
43.
expansion of that
Sebastian
event.
required
Yeah, more
89.
Asian countries, and Croatia are back. So Big Boris Krčma is going to get himself a World Cup shirt
Game
again.
shown the
But
second
Bialekci
leg.
has got himself
Sebastian Bialekci.
2 legs now. This is looking pretty strong from Sebastian.
Feel like it's Trina to throw first.
He was in
Game
trouble
on.
in the first leg, but since then, he's kicked on, especially when you're getting legs like 11 darts. You're putting people under pressure.
Well, Trina will probably be here as part of the
85.
preparation for what's coming up next for her, which is going to be on the World Seniors Darts Tour again. She's going to be playing in Blackpool for the Champion of Champions event. The draw has been done for that
96.
event, and she has drawn the number 3 seed Martin Adams. So this sort of performance should bed her in quite nicely in preparation for that sort of fixture.
40.
How many times have Martin Adams and Trina Gulliver shared flights to World Cups, Europe Cups? They were the mainstays
57.
of the men's and ladies teams for England for a period of over 20 years, probably.
60.
She actually made her England debut in the internationals in 1999.
136.
I thought it might have been a bit earlier than that, actually. And her last international appearance, 2019, so 20 years as an international.
180.
Great darts from the best female player of all time. Of that, there is absolutely no doubt. I know that there has been a lot of discussion over the last
85.
few years about who
Trina
is the best
McGuire,
female right now, but as far as
136.
ever, it's just like the men's game. There is no contention.
She's setting herself up nicely here, the 180.
96. Sebastian McGuire, 127.
96 leaves her on tops after 15 darts. Forces Bialekci into the 127 and game. He cannot find the treble 20, so
99.
Trina will return.
Trina
at
requires
tops.
40.
She had 2 darts in the opening leg to hold a throw and didn't convert. That is sat lovely there for Trina.
30. Sebastian required 28.
Bialekci knows a thing or two about stealing on double 14, or the equivalent of the amount of points. Double 7 again.
Game
He does it again for
further.
3-0. That's
Sebastian
2 breaks now.
Bialekci.
Trina paying the price for missed doubles in leg 1 and 3.
We spoke about averages a lot this
Four-legged
week, haven't we? And
Sebastian
how
to
they can
throw
be a bit
first. Game on.
deceiving and a bit of a lie at times. Trina Gulliver has had 2 darts to hold a throw in the
23.
opening leg and 3 darts to hold a throw in leg number 3. But yet, until that last shot, she was averaging nearly 20 points
85.
less, but could have been 2-1 up. And when I say could have been, I don't mean she had a dart at the ball on the end of a 167. I mean genuinely, at one point, returning to the board with 3 in hand.
I suppose that 11 darter in leg 2
65.
really does skew the averages in Sebastian's favour. Just to paint a bit of a picture, because you can see from our graphic at the start of games for Sebastian that he's 19
30.
years of age. Trina was already an England international before he was born. She'd done quite a lot before he was
40.
born, actually. She'd already won the England Open 4 times before he was born, maybe even 5. I haven't checked Sebastian's date of birth yet.
100.
But isn't it great that our sport of darts allows you to have someone who is just starting their career like Sebastian up against an icon like Trina? I've never had the
57.
privilege of playing Trina Gulliver, and I'm quite sad about that, actually. I know Trina quite well. We've spoken on many occasions, but I've never played against her.
I was literally just about to ask you
41.
if you can think of any other sport that this sort of scenario could ever exist, and you
Just
took the
golf.
words right out of my mouth.
Just golf, that's it. Think about Tom Watson nearly won the Open in 2009 and lost to Stuart Sink in a playoff.
100.
But there were some very young players in that Open. And I think we should embrace the fact there are huge age gaps. Last week at the UK Open, the age spread was 42 years. Steve Beaton was the oldest. The youngest was Luke Littler.
85.
And Thomas Banks was there, and he was 16 as well.
If you look at what they were throwing, there wasn't much difference between the two. Luke Littler, going to be some player.
31. Trina require 160.
One word that describes our sport: inclusive. It always has been.
$100.
Good lay up. Bialekci can't put pressure on the 60 because Trina has not found a double from 5 attempts yet. And the pressure really does come down on Trina now.
60.
If she misses this, it could well be game up.
Yeah, Sebastian's done all he can do at this point.
Game shown the 4th.
Trina finds her
Trina
first start
Gulliver.
at the double and gets one of those breaks to throw back that she's going to need. But Sebastian
Trina
fans
to throw first.
can be encouraged
Game
by
on.
those last 3 darts because it wasn't a very good scoring leg, but he certainly ended it with plenty of positivity there with that big 1-3-2.
85.
I was here when Trina Gulliver played last time. It was a Group B, and
60.
she really did grow into the event. And it was sort of the first game was a bit of a settler, but then sort of the mid part of the matches, she was getting quite a lot of 15 darters and 14 darters, and
82.
was really piling the pressure on the players. Was unlucky not to get through in the end.
The thing I wanted to ask you about Trina's technique is it's a wonderful throw that she has. It hasn't changed a great deal over the last
134.
quarter century. But she has quite an unusual grip, doesn't she? It's heavily inset inside the thumb.
45.
For a lot of people, the thumb involved in the grip it's a launch pad, but it doesn't have a great deal of change in it throughout the throw. I just get the feeling with Trina that there's a little
85.
bit of a curve in that thumb just before throwing it.
And what she'd probably
60.
found with this is that would have took hours and hours to perfect and get that correct. Because if there is an imperfection within the throw or something that's going to break alignment lines, that you are going to need to have increased levels of practice.
98.
And this is a technique that's been tuned and practiced and repeated for many of hours.
Got to move now.
59.
170.
Sebastian, you require 124.
Bialekci now has a great opportunity of getting this done by 4 legs to 1.
That's a good recovery there after the one.
71. Trina require
Reconfirms the
170.
mistake. 170 for Trina. I can guarantee you she'd have done this many times in her career. She won't do it on this occasion, and now she's going to have to face potentially a couple of match darts here from the
84.
young
Sebastian, you
Polishman.
require 53.
He's already hit a 13 in this leg. He gets his second. And he finds the double 10 as well to get a very,
Sebastian
very good
Bialekci.
start in Group B. 3 people will qualify from this group over the next couple of nights. And Sebastian Bolt Bialekci, as it says on the back of his shirt, gets himself off to a very tidy start. That's actually 3 points under his weekly average. But he won't care because his doubling was good enough to take some vital breaks of throw from Trina early on in the match. When we come back after the break, we'll see our first dose of Jamie Kelling for the week up against Conor Heneghan.
Hello and welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where Sebastian Bialekci is our first winner in Group B, getting the better of Trina Gulliver by 4 legs to 1. Well, our second game sees Conor Heneghan in action. He takes on Jamie Kelling. Heneghan we've seen on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Jamie Kelling, first time we're going to see him this week, but it's definitely not the first time we've seen him here at the Super Series. He's actually developing somewhat of a legendary status underneath the church here of the MODUS Live Lounge in Portsmouth. He qualified for Champions Week last time out. He made it through week 5, ironically, of it last time out. And he took part in the first ever Group B match back in March 2021 against Jason Askew. So a little bit of history for Jamie Kelling, who's been with us right from the very start. He starts his campaign against the Irishman Heneghan, who the last time we saw him in the Group B actually hit a 9-dart finish. Whoever commentated on that, I don't have a clue. However, in the commentary box now, Paul Nicholson, Matthew Edgar.
I remember who it was, Henry. It was someone who looks a bit like you. He said he was the man that night, and he'd like to be the man in this group as well. Failed to get through Group A, but I think failed is probably too strong a word, considering how exciting Group A was. But we've got 2 players here who know a thing or two about getting through a Group B. I think that statistic, Matt Edgar, was very interesting about how Jamie played in the first ever Group B match.
Okay, first leg, it's Jamie to throw first. Game on.
Yeah, he did do a few first, didn't he, Jamie Kelling? He was part of the New Kids on the Hockey programme, if you remember that one back in the day. It was on one of
93.
the TV channels. It was Phil Taylor got together with a group of young players at the time who was on the tour. Jamie Kelling, one of those.
43.
Few of them actually went on to do quite well for themselves. We've had Joe Cullen was on that show. We've got Michael Smith, who's in the Premier League
140.
final tonight and the current world #1 and world champion. And Aaron Monk, who recently got his PDC Tour card back again.
58.
I do know a couple of the other players that was on that show. They're both still playing their sort of county sort of darts, and one of them actually, again, is from near that Southern area.
180.
Matt Gallett was on that show, wasn't he?
Matt Gallett was one of them, yeah, from Birmingham.
Darren Whittingham?
From
100. Jamie require 88.
Good start here for JK, otherwise known as the Yellow Submarine.
56.
Yes, that is his nickname. He's just a fan of yellow, I believe. But it's a little bit better than some that we've heard this week. Things like Steve Haggerty's
100. Jamie requires
Hago
32.
or
Keno.
I mean, rest me case.
Game shot in the
First
first
leg Kelling in 14 darts.
Jamie
Great start.
Kelling.
Coming back here after a Champions Week campaign as well in Super
Second leg, it's
Series
Conor
2,
to
where
throw
he only
first.
just was eliminated in Group B. He left that night with his head held high because he had some good wins in that group,
135.
including against Raymond Smith, the eventual champion. He'll be really up for possibly doing the Week 5 double, because in Super Series 2,
41.
he won Week 5, and this is Week 5.
It's interesting seeing those slides with yourself and Henry at the top of the show. And
139.
the slide came around about the bookies and the odds to see Conor Heneghan joint favourite to win this group again. We saw this on Monday, he started as favourite. We saw it on Tuesday, he started as
140.
favourite. The only day he's not been favourite to win the group was Wednesday, when he was down towards the bottom starting of the day and a good few points cut adrift.
84.
The bookies believe in Conor Heneghan.
Averaging just shy of 87 for the week so far. A lot of his stats are
46.
very
Only
similar to that of
143.
Sebastian Bialekci. I just wonder if both of them are going to punch their ticket to Saturday night. And a reminder, you can actually be with us
93.
on Saturday night. You can get your tickets free of charge via dartshop.tv. And we start at around 7:30 on Saturday
Only
night. A
require
slight
50.
change to our usual programming. Whereas it used to be 10 p.m, now it's a bit earlier.
Game shown the
We have a
second
1-all
leg.
scoreline in a
Conor
high-quality
Heneghan.
game here.
You mentioned the stats there of Conor Heneghan. One of the interesting things about
Feel
them
like it's
is they're
Jamie to throw
actually
first.
increasing
Game on.
day by day. So on day 1, he averaged 85.01. On day 2, 87.85.
96.
Yesterday, 88.08, which means today he's probably going to average 89.
100.
You were saying?
Had to get that in quick because he's just going into the 90 mark now. But that steady increase over the
58.
days, and I did hear him having a conversation as I came in earlier because a couple of the players were asking him about, are you not worried you're going to get tired after playing the first days? Something I've nicknamed
93.
dart lag, which is the darting version of jet lag, where you go from the morning session to the evening, and you haven't got the adjustment yet for those late sessions. And you're still in that mode of waking up early, so you go to bed a bit early, and that dart lag, he does not believe in. He actually says he prefers playing in the evenings, which, to be honest, I'm not sure
132.
too many dart players who would say the opposite.
Let's face it, when you do an exhibition for darts in Ireland, they don't tend to start until now.
85.
So he'll be very much tuned into starting at 10 or 10:30 at night. Not that I'm saying he's done a lot of exhibitions, but he may have taken part in some against some
125. Jamie Rick, 127.
former world champions or former personalities in the past. That's just the way they do things in Ireland. Now, Heneghan
45.
decided to
Conor
leave
Heneghan,
tops in the last
51.
leg when he had a choice. He's not going to leave tops this time. Now he will.
Game shown
And he only needs the one.
leg.
That's a
Conor
great
Heneghan.
recovery after a bad first dart in visit 5.
Fourth leg, it's Conor to throw first.
I like watching the player behind. When they've just had the throw broken, see what they're doing, see what their reaction's like.
82.
Sometimes you get more entertainment watching the person at the back than the person who was throwing. This afternoon
58.
and later this morning, we had a lot of entertainment with John Michael through apologising for winning legs and
80.
some obligatory fist pumps that weren't even reciprocated by his opponents. It was rather funny.
And we will spot everything here. We'll spot
140.
cases, shirts, mannerisms. We'll even spot the fact that Conor Heneghan must have the biggest hands in the world, because once again, he's brought down his beach towel
95.
for the table over there for his hands if they get a little bit of perspiration.
Yeah, I've never really understood why people take massive towels on the table. It just takes up
57.
really valuable real estate. Get yourself into the mind of a dart player and you might get lost. Strange old place.
140.
Some serious towel on that table. At least we know if they spill the drinks, it won't go too far.
81.
Good old
Ronnie
Terry.
McGuire, 104.
That's what I used to call my towel. Great first dart. Conor again has slipped.
24 left.
This will be a very creative 104.
80.
He was flummoxed. We were a little bit. But that's the second time in this match where he's tried to hit a single to leave tops and missed.
And this is where Jamie Kelling will be kicking himself for that last start slipping in the one. Whenever that happens, you tend to find the treble with the first start, and you
Game shot on the fourth leg. Conor
give yourself
Heneghan.
the old smack on the bottom. But Heneghan gets over the line in a way he probably didn't expect to.
Fifth leg, it's Jamie
But
to throw
it
first.
seems to be every
Game
time we're in the commentary box together, there seems to be this pattern of people slipping in the double 16.
It does happen an inordinate amount
100.
of times, especially when people are on 56.
And it's not like it's one of those shots like we're 51, for example, where the player
135.
might be trying to stay away from the treble 19 that actually go too safe and slip into the double, because if you do slip into the treble 16, it still leaves you a double 4. It's not a bad,
40.
not a bad shot.
Just starting to show the tiniest bit of frustration here. Kelling hasn't played poorly in this game, but he's only had 2 shots at double. That's why he's losing 3-1.
46.
If you think back to when he played his first game in Group B in early 2021, that was a time
134.
where we were not allowed to have a referee in the room. Back then, people like Jason Askew and Jamie Kelling were calling their own scores.
92.
So good, isn't it? I think maybe one day for our
75.
social medias we could clip up like an evolution sort of video of where it started in kitchens and then with one camera, then it was like 2 cameras, wasn't it? And how it's sort of grown into what it is now.
That's actually a very good idea. So I hope the producers are listening to that. That would make for a good bit of content so that people know where it started and where it is now.
96. Conor Heneghan 147.
Chance gone. Kelling's on 56.
95. Jamie Heneghan
Don't
56.
hit the double. That's what you want, a nice big 16. He's done this in 2 parts as well, which I like. He's hit the single 16 and approached the double as a separate
Shot on the
part.
5th leg.
We see so many times
Kelling.
people just go 16 as if it's a given and then go straight to the tops. He broke that down into 2 separate pieces and gets his
6th leg, it's
reward,
Conor
which
to
is
throw first.
the 5th leg of the match.
That was a great checkout from Jamie. Under massive amount of pressure.
140.
But you get the feeling Conor Heneghan, if you're going to talk about pressure, he's going to pile it on now.
96.
Conor Heneghan is going to try and race to the line.
Part of a darting family, of course. His brother Martin has also played with us here at the MODUS Super Series. But this is a sprint for the finish now. 5 treble 20s in the first 6 darts. And he's got Jamie Kelling on the ropes.
81.
This is an excellent performance from someone who, at points this week, has shown some very high levels. Best average of the week, 100.12. His sole 100 average. He's not going to get to the 100 in this one, but he is in the mid-90s.
60. Conor Heneghan 141.
Well, there's the 41.
101.
And there's 60 more. That's worked out pretty well. Just to be safe, he does leave a finish.
40.
But Hino has been too good. And does get the job done in 15 darts.
Conor
A fabulous
Heneghan.
performance from a very capable young man. Jamie Kelling did some great stuff in that match. But maybe it's going to be another campaign where he's going to have to dig really, really deep. 92.83 the average for Hino, and the doubles are very acceptable at a 44% rate. When we come back, we've got one more person to show you. That's Chuck Allen Norris.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where Conor Heneghan has got his account for the evening underway. He got the better of Jamie Kelling by 4 legs to 2, doing so with an average just under 93 and 4 out of 9 on the doubles. Well, we're going to see the final play we haven't seen so far this week in action. In our next game, it sees Alan Norris, the former Lakeside World finalist, in action. He takes on Trina Gulliver, who is looking to get back to winning ways following a defeat to Sebastian Bialekci in the opening game of the evening. In the commentary box to describe this one, here's Matthew Edgar and Paul Nicholson.
Thank you, Henry. This is a very good game, isn't it? It's not often you see at the MODUS Super Series somebody who has won 10 world titles up against someone who has graced the men's final at Lakeside back in 2014, where he lost out to Stephen Bunting. But these two will go way back, and in fact have lived in the same county before, Matthew Edgar.
Not just the same county, the same village. Alan Norris used to live in Southam itself, where Trina is now living. We mentioned earlier about the players that have lived there, and I've had a little search around.
Okay, first leg, it's Alan to throw first. Game on.
Due to recent housing developments and the estate that has been built up in the Southam area, the population has rose to 8,100, which is
40.
Crazy when you think that that is the place that holds 12 World Darts Championships.
85.
1 male, 10 female World Championships.
If you're curious, Steve Beaton is the male world champion from 1996. Currently residing in Norfolk, though. Edging towards retirement, but
26.
Starting to play some of the best darts of his entire career. So maybe I'm telling Porky Pies. Alan's gone back to Scotland. He has lived in
100.
many a different place in his career and in his life. Lived in Sweden, Scotland, England. I'm reliably informed that he's fluent in Swedish.
60.
That can't be an easy language to master. I haven't even got English down yet.
140.
Had a good career. We don't get many European Tour winners from the PDC playing here at the MODUS Super Series. Back in 2016, Alan won the German Darts Championship, one of the premier events on the European Tour, and the oldest of the lot.
41.
Beating Jelle Klaassen in that final. Someone who is in Champions Week here. We could even get a rematch between those two if Alan has a successful week.
81. Alan, you require 40.
Could start the week perfectly. Just needs to
Game shot the first.
It's a 16 darter.
Alan Norris.
Or Alan Norris. And we spoke a lot about past achievements of the players, and we're rolling.
Second leg, it's Trina to throw
the
first.
history books.
Game on.
But I think there's something quite important that we need to discuss here as well with Trina Gulliver, that her success isn't just limited to the past and these titles we're talking about, such as these World Championships and the World Masters. She actually found success just last year on the PDC Women's Series. She won one of those events.
100.
That really was an incredible story. A lot of people were saying at the time that it was her first PDC title, when in fact it wasn't. She has won overseas in the PDC system before in Las Vegas.
2 times in 2004 and 2005. The Desert Classic, when the PDC dipped their toe into ladies' darts.
125.
They also did a match play, I believe, as well at Blackpool. It was Stacey Bromberg who lifted that one.
Ooh, bit of a hat stand dart there for Trina.
120.
Yeah, that was the Women's World Championship that they dabbled in. Stacey Bromberg won that, beating the right stuff, Trisha Wright.
81.
10's a good number for these two, actually, because we have mentioned that Trina's got 10 world titles. Well, in fact, Alan Norris has won titles in 10 different countries.
140.
Including places like Poland, Sweden, Wales, Luxembourg, France, Denmark. Catalonia in Spain.
59. Trina
Bit of a
require
controversial
102.
statement. Catalonia. He's won in England, of course. He's also won in Germany, like I mentioned.
I've just gone to Trina Gulliver's one so I can read some of those out to you. First thing I've had to zoom my laptop out so I can fit it all on the screen. And we probably need to extend the game a little bit if I'm going to read off this list, because I don't think I've got time.
39.
She hasn't won as many titles as Dita Hedman,
66.
I'm reliably informed. But she has won more majors. Double top for an equalising leg.
46.
Chance for Norris.
Alan, you require 97.
You don't need to be a genius to work out why he's called
on
Chuck.
the second leg. Alan Norris.
Unless you don't know who Chuck Norris is. When in fact you should have a word with yourself.
Maybe it's because he
So
likes
look, it's
chucking
Alan
things.
to throw first.
Well, he's pretty good
Game
at it.
on.
And he's someone who has a 9 darter at Minehead as well. That was a particularly enriching 9 darter.
100.
When he hit that, it was on stage 2 at the Players' Championship Finals, and he bagged £35,000 for it.
44.
No bonus here for a 9 darter unless you get to Champions. We can do it there. Where in Super Series 3, that bonus is £1,500.
140.
I did cover Alan Norris's week the last time he was here. And at that point, it appeared that he was
85.
struggling with somewhat of a shoulder injury. It was just before Q School as well. And then he went to Q School and he didn't have a good time with things there. Literally just won one match. Didn't get out of Group
96.
1, which would have been a big disappointment for Alan Norris to not even make the final 128th stage of Q School. But he does appear to be playing quite comfortable darts at the moment.
60.
He seems well within himself and he's putting in a very good performance here.
This is where you really want to start kicking on if you have that comfort. Find your form by playing
85.
multiple games. We know that Alan can play at a very high level. We will find out where his game is at over the next couple of nights.
100.
Indeed, maybe the next
Alan,
3.
you require 80.
To compound the misery of the Golden Girl. It's double top.
Game
And is
shown
now
the third leg.
3-0 with
Alan
Norris averaging
Norris.
94 in this game. 16 darts per leg is what he's doing. But
Look, it's
even more
Trina to
impressive
throw
than that
first.
is
Game
how
on.
he's doubling. You can limit your opponent to 1 shot at a double in the first 3 legs. You're doing a lot right.
60.
And it's quite ironic, really, if we look at the field of players that are playing in this event. In terms of mileage,
60.
Alan Norris is probably the player who lives the furthest away, but he might have had one of the shortest travels here, because you were saying earlier on today he lives about 10 minutes away from the airport,
125.
and the flight's about an hour from there to Southampton. So in terms of the amount of time it's took him to travel, he's probably actually been travelling less than Trina, who
45.
I know's about 10 minutes away from myself, and I'm about 2 hours, 15 minutes.
Your eyes do not deceive you, by the way. You might see that Alan is using 2 different sets of darts.
125.
They are exactly the same construct, but they're different colours. He does this. He tends to flip-flop between 2 different sets
57.
in the middle of a match. He's got a bronze-coloured set and a natural tungsten-coloured set.
You can see on the table there, he's got darts like already set up. Some people might have a flight and a
76.
stem. He's literally got a set of darts, so he can just grab them and change them at the blink of an eye.
133. Trini require 115.
Plenty of time for this one. There's the 15. Unfortunately, no big trouble to have a shot at tops.
77.
She will have a choice when she comes back as to whether the double 19 is calling or the split. But it will be under pressure.
174.
That's incredible from Chuck.
Trini require 38.
If we talk about that urgency button again, he just ran over and smacked that as hard as he could. He has put Trina in a situation here where this has to go.
Game shown
And
the
does a
forfeit.
really good
Trina
dart there. You
Gulliver.
could see the angle it went into the board. You have to find a way over the top. The flight would have been in the way as well. It caught the
Three-flagged
flight on the
Talon
way
to throw
through.
first. Game on.
But the most important thing is the point ended up in the double 19, and the point goes on the board for Trina Gulliver.
I saw a great photograph actually at the recent World
140.
Seniors Championship where Trina was playing. She had a photograph with Rhiannon Evans, the multiple-time women's snooker champion.
81.
It's nice when great players from different sports get together and revel in how much sacrifice and commitment they've put into their sports respectively over the years.
It's
100.
a really good photo. You might even be able to just get it on Google if you're sat at home, and it's a man juggling plates, and he's standing in front of a crowd juggling the plates, and everyone's
85.
marvelling at him, and they're going, what a wonderful... But on the steps all the way, there's just loads of broken plates behind him, and it says that people don't get to see the sacrifice and the cost. They only get to see the
100.
end product and the success. And I fully agree with what you're saying there, that it's sometimes nice to sit down and sort of admire the
43.
sacrifices
Alan,
and
you
the
require
commitment they've made to the sport
161.
over a traditional lifestyle.
I think Trina's story is anything but
42.
normal or a straight line. She's had her ups and downs.
She did write a book, didn't she, in 2008?
I think she should write another one. Because a lot has happened in the last 15 years.
95. Alan, you require 119.
60 for tops to get the job done. This time he drifts into the treble 5.
79.
Now it's Trina's turn to do what Alan Norris did to her in the last one, and that's try and hit big.
26.
I think she knows
Alan,
that
you
the game
require 40.
may well be up here in game 3. For a starting win,
Game
Norris is
shot
just
and a match.
phenomenal
Alan
on the
Norris.
outer ring. 80%, averaging north of 93. I think that's a little bit of a message for the rest of the Group B field, because we've had good performances so far from Bialekci, from Conor Heneghan, but the best so far has come from Chuck. When we come back, we'll see Bialekci against Kelling in game 4.
This is the MODUS Super Series. 180.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where if you have just joined us following a fantastic night in Liverpool, this is what we have seen so far in the live lounge reports of Norris has just got the better of Trina Gulliver by 4 legs to 1 in our previous encounter. Conor Heneghan beat Jamie Kelling 4-2. That's before Sebastian Bialekci got on the board with a 4-1 win against Gulliver. And it is going to be the Pole who we're going to see in our next match. He takes on Jamie Kelling, who's looking to get his first win on the board. If Sebastian can get the points in this one, he puts himself in a very, very good position in the group at this very, very early stage. In the commentary box is a very, very good commentary team. It's Matthew Edgar and Paul Nicholson.
You're too kind, Henry. You're too kind. Well, right now, it's all about whether Bialekci can double the amount of points that he's got from the first game of the night against Trina. There he was particularly steady and very good on the outer ring for 50%. But this 33-year-old from Andover, who almost looks like a veteran compared to the kids that he's playing,
Sebastian to throw first. Game on.
will now try to join the party on 2 points. Bialekci has 2, Heneghan has 2, and now Norris has 2.
82.
On Monday, we tried to predict what kind of total would be good enough to get through to Saturday through Group A.
45.
We were wrong, because we both piped up for 22 points. If you get to double figures in Group B, more than likely you are safe. I say that loosely because I'm sure that Sean Griffiths a few weeks ago wasn't safe on 10 points.
140.
To save any doubt, just get to 12 or more.
I'll just win all 8 fixtures and you don't have to worry about tables.
58.
Yeah, win all 4 on Thursday night and just bag yourself a couple more wins at the start of Friday night.
59.
You can relax after that and just let the wins come to you.
Well, that's a plan that Jamie Kelling can't do because he's already lost his opening game. But Sebastian Bialekci can do that. He won his opening
99.
game 4-1 against Trina Gulliver. Kelling went down 4-2 to an inspired Conor Heneghan, who averaged
85.
92.83.
Sebastian, you require 122. 90.
Good last from Sebastian. Kelling back on the 172.
60.
Not posing
Sebastian
much of a
requires
threat here
32.
on the early throw of Sebastian.
This is tricky.
Game shot in
how
the
good was
first
that
leg.
dart?
Sebastian
I know he could probably
Bialekci.
see more than we thought, but still hitting the bottom 25% of that double 16 just goes to show
Second against Jamie to
this
throw
19-year-old's
first.
got
Game
talent. From the town of Lodz in Poland, which is almost halfway between Poznan and Warsaw, 2 of the biggest towns or
42.
biggest cities in Poland. Very large country. My Polish geography is pretty shocking, actually.
121.
I don't know anything about where he's from, but we'll do a bit of digging.
Gotta say, Polish darts is probably one of
100.
those nations actually on the rise. Can't think of too many Polish darters till recent times, and now gracing or being around the
59.
PDC sort of scene, we'll probably pick about 5 players out, headed by Krzysztof Ratajski.
I'm just looking at some of the pictures on the
58.
internet of Lodz. I hope I said that right, by the way. I do apologise if I haven't. It took me about 6 months to get the pronunciation of Bialekci right. City and centre of Poland, known as a
77.
former textile manufacturing hub. So it might be a bit like Manchester. There's a lot of textile
100.
industry in Manchester during the Industrial Revolution.
We have got
137.
a red shirt on, which is one of the famous colours of the city of Manchester, due to their highly successful football team.
100.
Or
Sebastian
one of
Bialekci,
nowadays.
107.
That's a great first start. How was Dart 3? It's as
Game
good as it
shot the
gets.
second leg. Sebastian
Somebody's got the
Bialekci.
bit between their teeth this evening, haven't they? This is just really, really good. And the
Gotta get
expression of
Sebastian
Jamie
to
Kelling
throw
tells the
first.
story.
Game on.
He is being shut out right now.
Just cast your mind back to that slide at the start of the show when we found
58.
the odds and what the bookies predicted. They predicted Conor Heneghan, Sebastian Bialekci. Those two players have turned up
100.
today as favourites for this group and are playing like the favourites in this group.
There's a fine balance between being
57.
fresh and being ready. Sometimes we do question what kind of energy levels the people from Group A to Group B
54.
have got. We don't question the other players like Gulliver, Norris and Kelling because we just assume that they're fresh. We don't even know what kind of week they've had.
134.
All right, now Jamie Kelling's week is not going to plan. And if Sebastian stays on this trend,
58.
there's going to be a game coming up in about 20 minutes' time that is going to actually be at this early stage very important. That is Trina Gulliver versus Jamie Kelling.
139.
Both of them potentially could be going into that game after 2 defeats.
83. Sebastian
Considering
Bialekci,
the fact
113.
If Sebastian has got 6 darts from 113, that could well be the case. He just keeps leaving double 16.
81.
It's going to be a bit louder in here in about 48 hours.
100. Sebastian Bialekci,
At 11
32.
o'clock at night, it will be semi-final time. I wonder if Sebastian's going to be there.
Game shot
doing
the
a good job
third
of it.
leg.
Here in Group B,
Sebastian Bialekci.
50 darts for the first 3 legs, averaging 90. And 37.5% on the
Against
doubles.
Jamie to throw first.
It's all very competent without being spectacular. And we're looking at a 19-year-old
43.
who made the quarterfinals of the UK Open a year ago, but was eliminated in round 1 last week.
He's also had a
137.
9-dart finish. That was on his debut year as well. That was in Milton Keynes back in the old COVID days.
180.
I will be honest, I was at that UK Open in Milton Keynes and it was weird.
I played in it and it was weird.
100.
Didn't like it.
Just walking around and there were multiple boards around there and this piped-in crowd noise was there. It felt like the Twilight Zone.
60.
It was very strange. This is not strange.
121.
Very strange deflection, though. This has not been a long game. It's been going for about 7.5 minutes. It could be over before we click over to 8 minutes.
70. Sebastian Bialekci, 143.
It will be if Sebastian takes out this 1-4-3 for the match. Which is quite a nice finish for being able to leave yourself
58.
in the
Jamie
area
Bialekci,
he likes
148.
over that 16s and 8s section of the board.
60.
If he does lose
Sebastian
4-0,
Bialekci,
Jamie
85.
is going to be disconsolate. Bullseye for the win.
54.
You can see his
Jamie Bialekci,
thoughts on that one.
88.
Wasn't happy with that. Felt he hooked it a little bit. It might be the ball for Kelling. It's even better. It's 7-7.
74.
Might
Sebastian
be the only
requires
opportunity he gets
31.
to save this one.
The only dart he's had a double in the whole match.
Game
And it's the only
shot
one
on the man.
he actually got.
Sebastian
Because that was
Bialekci.
another consistent performance from Bolt. He doesn't average 90 in the end, but his doubles percentage just dipped up to 40% at the very end of that match. This is just a performance so far tonight that is going to be very, very difficult to stop. Bialekci will take on Heneghan after this, but he will have Alan Norris in game 10. That could well be a bit of a firework game to finish things off on Thursday night. But when we come back, it will be the halfway point as Conor Heneghan takes on Chuck.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where the stage is most certainly set. And we've just seen Sebastian Bialekci won out a 4-0 winner against Jamie Kelling in our previous matchup. Well, as you can see here on the stage, everything is set at this wonderful live lounge in Portsmouth. So we thought we'd give you the opportunity now, as we reach the halfway of the session, to get to know the staff that make this product what this is a little bit better. Let's find out a little bit more about our production team. Most intelligent.
I'd probably have to say the most intelligent is Kirk Bevins from a book-smart point of view. I don't know about you, Matt.
Well, I can't debate that one. It's got to be Kirk Bevins.
Most intelligent would have to be Kirk Bevins. You're not countdown champion for nothing.
You're going to have to go with Kirk Bevins with his countdown history and his quizzing.
Most intelligent. George Noble, is that what you want me to say, George?
I'm going to probably have to say me, really.
Paul Hinks. I've never seen a man get around a puzzle like that before.
I reckon a lot of people are going to say you.
I'd have to say Paul Nicholson. He's got quite a depth of knowledge, hasn't he?
It's got to be Paul Starr.
Probably Paul Nicholson. There's nothing he doesn't know about vegan diets and meditation.
Abby? Definitely Abby. She's got some cracking dresses.
I'd have to go with either Abby Davis or Chris Mason. I think it's a bit of a toss-up for me.
I'd say Chris Murphy always comes in as some smart clobber, doesn't he?
Paul Nicholson's very smart. He wears some nice clobber.
Got to be me, really. Find any Tungsten Time t-shirt in any of your local charity shops.
I will go for Charlie Corstefin is the best dressed.
Paul or Abby? Abby, some fantastic outfits Abby wears, so I'm going to say Paul and Abby.
Best dressed would probably have to be Abigail Davis, one of our presenters.
Best dressed.
Kirk Bevins.
Worst dressed, I'm going to have to go Mankey. Looks like he slept in his car all night when he comes in the morning.
Owen Binks.
Kirk Bevins with his Slazenger and Puma fleeces.
Best mate would have to be Paul Hinks, basically because he's like a second granddad to me.
Henry, Hugh, Kirk, Taylor.
Everybody's a mate. I love them all.
For me, it's either Chris Murphy or Chris Mason. I work a lot with them. And
It's going to have to be Owen.
Best mate. Won 3 Gold Cups back to back. Oh, we're not talking about the horses, are we?
Paul, we got a bit of a romance thing going on.
Best mate. Oh, I like Stefan.
He's my pal.
Also, Owen Binks. Mainly because he took me to watch Coldplay.
I'll pass.
Biggest joker, Paul Starr. The funniest man I've ever met.
Get out of my pub! It's Paul Starr.
Paul Starr, final answer.
It's got to be Paul Starr, Tungsten Time.
They're all clowns, really. I'm just say me, really. Yeah, again, yeah, me, yeah.
Biggest joker, Paul Starr.
Paul Starr.
Comms turn him off all the time.
So it's the way you tell him.
Biggest moaner, it's got to be Owen Binks. It doesn't take much at all.
Owen Binks.
There's only one name comes to mind, George Noble.
It's definitely not George. It's definitely not George.
Biggest moaner is... It's going to have to be Kirk Bevins again.
4 bacon baps and 4 donuts for breakfast. It's Stefan Everard.
Stefan Everard.
There's only one man. His name is Stefan Everard, and no disrespect to the young man. I can remember when the studio was in Southampton, it was carbonara, baguettes for breakfast, and I'm not talking about the mini baguettes, I'm talking proper inches. Stefan, the man is a machine.
Again, it's got to be Kirk. He listens to Venga Boys, Steps.
Owen Binks and Coldplay. I mean, why pick that when you just pick Scooter?
Yeah, Owen Binks, Coldplay.
Well, of course, that's Owen. I mean, the whole world agrees, apart from Chris Martin from Coldplay.
Have I got a catchphrase, did you say? Yes, and if you watch it. Did you say catchphrase? The Tungsten Time? Oh, worst taste in music.
The Everard brothers need to have a word with themselves. Scooter, really.
Well, we've got 2 sisters who work behind the scenes, Stefan and Billy, and to be honest, Scooter. I mean, what on earth is that all about?
Best singer, it's got to be me, hasn't it?
The only one to know who sings is Henry.
Henry Deacon can belt out some bangers.
Charlie Corstefin.
Charlie's quickstep is a thing of beauty.
I didn't know Charlie could dance.
You can't.
Best singer, Henry Deacon. Best answer would have to be me.
So I'll just answer it for you. It's Kirk.
No, it's not Kirk. Come on.
Definitely Henry Deacon.
After meeting everyone, handy in a fight, I've got to go for Corinne Hammond.
Oh, Mace. If I need someone to back me up in a corner, it's got to be Mace.
Owen would be dead handy in a fight because they can all pile on him while I run away.
Do you know, I'd probably back myself against most people on the Super Series.
Handy in the fight would have to be Mark Smith, our players' marshal.
I'd want Mark Smith or Chris Mason on my side.
Chris Mason.
Chris Mason.
You done? Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, there you go. That's who works here at the MODUS Super Series, and a little bit of an insight into the kind of craziness that we have behind the scenes. But that just paints a little bit of a different picture. Nice to see that Matthew Edgar has not changed his T-shirt since then, because he's wearing exactly the same one today. But what's going to change in the Group B table? Will we see Alan Norris get to 4 points, or will it be Conor Heneghan?
Well, as we are the dart/wrestling pronouncers, it'll be interesting to see who lays the smackdown in this one.
It's Friday night coming up, so maybe it's more SmackDown than Raw. Well, Alan Norris was very impressive in his first game.
First.
Averaging over 93, but Conor Heneghan was not far behind him. This really does have the ingredients to be possibly the game of the night.
Yeah, they both kicked off well, and I believe that the pace of this will suit both as well. There's certain players and pacers that just complement each other, and I think that this is going to be one of those, because Alan's not going to feel rushed with the pace of Conor, but he's not going to be waiting too long, whereas Conor's just a little bit more deliberate, but again, he's not going to feel like he's getting caught in a whirlwind like you do with some players, like a Ricky Evans or a Vincent van der Voort. It can feel like you're playing nobody when you play those sort of players.
95.
Now, we are starting to see a little bit of a pattern with Super Series 3. And there were quite a few people, actually, who thought that the Champions Week of Super Series 2 was a little weaker than the first one. That's entirely up to interpretation. But so far in Super Series 3, we've got 3 players who have had tour cards before.
164.
Scott Taylor, Klassen and Worsley. Owen Bates is a bit more new to the world of darts to a lot of people.
84.
If we get someone like Alan Norris coming through this week, we're starting to see that pattern just branch out a little bit more. That maybe former tour card holders and very strong candidates will be making their presence felt in Super Series 3. Double top.
60.
That might have gone in had it not been for the dart that he hit.
I'm going to say we might see him move over there, because that first start,
20.
just sitting underneath the treble 20, was a bit of a blocker there for Alan Norris. A nice clean open target for Conor Heneghan, who continues where he left off in his opening game when he beat Jamie
Second
Kelling.
against Alan to throw first. Game
Kelling 4-2.
Yeah, it's been pretty swift tonight. We've had 2 4-1s,
60.
and a 4-0, and that 4-2 that you've just mentioned. And were there any questions that we weren't asked in that backstage segment that you would have wanted to ask?
I think now that we've shared accommodation for a period of time, I think I would like to have seen something in there such as
60.
worst chef. Because if that was the case, that would be very close between Charlie, one of our referees, and Owen, who's on stage refereeing right now, who have made 2 of the most terrible, ridiculous sandwiches I have ever seen.
Yeah, it's fair to say that those 2 have got a bit of work to do when it comes to home economics.
Didn't you have to teach Owen how to cook pasta?
Yeah, did that about a month ago. Taught him how to make a little bit of pasta with pesto and a few tomatoes stirred through it, just to stop him from doing something silly, like spreading pesto on bread. Oh no, he's already done that.
100.
When I was down, last time you wasn't here, he did it, and he felt like he got it slightly wrong, so he wanted to put it in the microwave, but he'd already put his flavourings on, so he was on about washing the flavourings off so he could put it in the microwave. This is Owen who's calling your scores right now. We're talking about those.
It's a good job he's good at refereeing. Oh, finally, somebody's clicked that 133 going 19's first is the right play.
Alan, you require 56.
It's a really good job of polishing up there. But how good is Norris on tops?
Game
That's a brilliant shot from Norris.
Alan Norris.
He's been good on those sort of shots in his opening game.
So like it's Conor to throw
He had
first.
5 darts at a double in his conversion of 4 of them.
135.
Going to be a lot of darts over the course of the next few months. We have still got 7 more weeks of qualifying for the Super Series 3 Champions Week. We're inching closer to Saturday night, where we will let the cat out of the bag.
45.
About who's playing next week. I haven't seen the list yet, but I'm sure it's a belter.
Yeah, there's been some good lineups.
100.
Feels like the lineups are getting stronger. But I think that's because we're starting to become more familiar with some of the players now in the Super Series. And they're starting to become more familiar with the stage and the cameras. And they're raising their levels as well. The players that the Super Series has discovered, as well as the players that are coming off the tour or playing on those secondary development tours.
A lot of these players that you've seen over the last few weeks will be going to Germany next week, because Challenge Tour action, which is the second tier of PDC action, will be taking place in Hildesheim, just outside of Hanover next week.
And to find a lot of darts in Germany, certainly on the PDC side, is played in Hildesheim. It's like the capital of European darts.
What a lovely dart that is. First one was brilliant. Second one,
82.
Fair to say it wasn't.
And you require 92.
Now what does Chuck do here? The old bullseye effort. And now it's double 8. That is fabulous. We've definitely got Chuck in a good mood, because right now he's taking the lead at 2-1 with a break of throw. He might be the man to beat.
Game on.
Or should I say, the person to beat in this group, because we do have Trina as well.
I mean, that is a big game, that next one, Trina and Jamie Kelling. Both of those have played 2 fixtures. They've both lost both their fixtures, and they're both on -6. One of them is going to be bottom of the table on 0 points after 3 matches. Conor Heneghan's just had his throw broken and then hits back with a maximum visit. But this is the best I have seen Alan Norris play for some time. And I don't just mean because he's hitting all the trebles like Conor Heneghan, firing in for a second 180, a back-to-back 180. He's the last player to hit a 9-darter, the only man to do it under this roof.
141.
They say history has a habit of repeating itself.
Can it? Double 12. He's only going to do it again. He really is the man. He's the only man who's hit a 9-darter under this roof, and now he's got 2.
And let's not forget, Alan Norris in that leg, 140, 140, 135 with the darts. He left 86 after 9 and didn't even get a shot.
We will not see a better leg than that overall, maybe for the rest of the year.
60.
And let's face it, Matt, he needed to do it, because if he didn't, he was going to be 3-1 down, in all probability.
45.
Massive cries from the practice room, the production area, and maybe from the couple of people on the balcony, but what is it about Conor Heneghan, this place in 9-darters?
140.
He's in a class of his own. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure he got one in Southampton as well. He's now got 3 with the MODUS Super Series. We've classified him as a little bit streaky, but when he gets it right, he gets it very right.
60.
That was a fantastic leg, though, from both players. But coming out of the back of that, it appears to have just knocked Alan Norris out of his stride a little bit.
45.
He did obviously applaud Conor Heneghan. It made him aware of it. Of course it would. It was a 9-dart leg. That was one of the situations you actually said
85.
You would get involved with of the old John Michael fist bumps if it was a 9-darter. Potentially a 170.
46.
He doesn't seem to have kept the focus going that he had before that 9-darter went in.
Well, he's got the 9. How about 3 bulls?
Can he require 150?
He's not going to do it. His opponent wasn't on a finish. I wouldn't have blamed him if he'd gone
60.
for it. Ah, I see what he's doing here. 162 leaves 36. That's some good maths there from Alan.
58. Can he require 90?
It's a pity he couldn't find another treble after the first one. Just going to lay up and hope that Alan does not find something
41.
sizable. This is where, if you get to 60,
140.
someone like Chuck might go 2 double tops after hitting it. We don't have the luxury of finding out.
58. Can he require 49?
Just to try and settle the heart rate a bit after the 9-darter.
29.
The crazy
And he
game darts,
requires
isn't he? He wins
82.
in 9 darts in the last leg, and in this leg, after 24 darts, the leg's still going.
Double 10.
Game
And he's now behind as well, so
Alan Norris.
insult to injury. Norris can't believe his luck.
Safe leg, it's Alan
But
to
hitting
throw
9-dart
first.
legs, not that I'm a big aficionado in that. These two are more so because they have hit 9-darters in the past. But it does do funny things to your heart rate.
45.
You mentioned earlier on, we went into the discussion about 9-darters, and you said, just this afternoon in Group C, how many times do people hit a 9-darter and
93.
lose the match?
Plenty. Think about James Wade's 9-darter in the 2008 Grand Slam. He screamed when he hit that thing. But then he lost to Gary Anderson in that last 16 match.
84.
When Phil Taylor hit 2, he didn't lose that match.
140.
Michael Van Gerwen hit 2 against Ryan Murray in a Pro Tour event a few years ago. He didn't lose that match.
Remember when Michael Van Gerwen nearly hit 2 back-to-back at the World Championship? He hit the 9-darter, and then, was it 8 into the next? Missed the double.
I would love to have seen that.
140.
I think it's only a matter of time. I think it's something we're going to see in the future.
What we may just see now is a win for Norris.
77.
To take himself a little bit closer to Bialekci. Well, that's a bad dart. All is not lost yet.
73. Can he record 167?
This is a big ask. And this is where you can be really aggressive on this double 2 as well.
Alan, you require 4.
Because his darts stand up. Being aggressive is the right play. Well, now you've got to force it through somehow. Somebody is guarding double 2, and he might have to do what Trina did earlier on double 19.
No score. Can he require 32?
It's a game that you feel would be a 4-3 on the patterns of play.
Game
will be a
on the
4-3.
sixth flag. Conor Heneghan.
Which direction the 4-3 goes, I wouldn't want to be staking any claims
7th and
to that
final
one.
leg. It's Conor to throw first.
Things got a bit
Game
sticky
on.
for Alan when he missed double 10 by hitting the 15. That's why he was stuck on double 2. We talked
96.
at considerable length over the last few minutes about how people lose matches after hitting 9-darters.
140.
Just for a second there, I was hoping that maybe we could get another one.
You're just getting greedy now, aren't
Of
you?
course I am. Feed me more.
140.
Wrestling reference there from the dart/wrestling commentator.
if you want to take it that way.
100.
Ryback, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
That was a bit of a crap gimmick. Oh, that is wonderful.
171.
He may have calmed down all of a sudden after a couple of questionable longer legs than that 9-darter.
Connie require 94.
But now he's 94 away from getting a vital win. Double top. And in that match, he had a 9-darter and an 11-darter. But the stuff in between gave him an average of 93.81. I know he's had a couple of sketchy legs tonight, but boys, he had some good ones. You can look at that screen all you want. But that 5th game of the night was all about the fact that Conor Heneghan got his second 9-darter under this roof, and he can go back to the practice room now where he might even get a guard of honour from the other 3 players. When we come back, the halfway point has been met, so Trina Gulliver will now take on Jamie Kelling in Game 6.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. You've just joined us. Where have you been? Because we have just seen a little bit of history under the roof here of the MODUS Live Lounge. Conor Heneghan, who prior to tonight was the only player to hit a 9-dart finish here at the Super Series. Well, he's only gone and done it again, hasn't he? On a Thursday night here at the Live Lounge. Nico's been on the stick. Well,
it seems like that is the recipe, isn't it? It's Thursday, it's Group B, it's Conor Heneghan, it's a 9-darter. Fantastic to see it. We've waited so long to get another one, but it's somewhat comical that we've got our second one from the person who hit the first. But I think he'll probably try and go for the hat-trick now and try and get another one by the end of the week.
Do you want to watch it again?
Yeah, why not?
Let's have a look at this again. What a moment this was. Conor And 9-dart finish. And you look at the moment in this match as well. It's actually a breaker throw on Alan Norris. He's 2-1 down. And prior to that, he was struggling in patches.
Yeah, he was a little bit. I think, obviously, his heart rate after hitting this 9 was pretty elevated. But I think Matthew Edgar eloquently said that if he didn't hit this, he was going to be in trouble. I mean, look at what Norris has got left, 86. Well, there it is, double 12. And in again. A slightly more muted celebration than the last time. I think he's getting used to this, isn't he?
Conor Heneghan, he's the man, again, here at the Super Series on a Thursday night. But he did manage to get the job done as well against Alan Norris in that. And what we have seen as well so far is a very good start for Sebastian Bialekci, which has kind of been lost in amongst the madness of the 9.
It's been a mad week. When you think about how Group A really did materialise through the tight nature of the top 5 with 1 or 2 rounds to go. And we've had a really good Group C this morning as well. I'm not surprised by this group. I just don't know what's going to happen next.
Well, this is the table then at the halfway stage of our evening here in Group B. As you see, Bialekci and Heneghan leading the way, 2 wins from 2 respectively. Big game coming up here for Messrs Kelling and Gulliver.
Absolutely. I think 2 points is imperative for somebody here, just to take a little bit of pressure off for their last game of the night and potentially going into Friday.
Well, I think we've got a little bit of a spring in the step, haven't we, following that 9-dart. It's not a bad way to conclude a Thursday night, which has been full of fantastic hours.
We might even get another one, you never know.
Or you're teasing.
I am teasing, but it is possible.
It's most definitely possible, and if it does, well, I want your lottery numbers tomorrow, that is for sure. Conor Heneghan actually promised that 9-darter with us in the production earlier on this week. Well, he is a man of his word. Talk about man with many words. Paul Nicholson's going to make his way down to the commentary box to join Matthew Edgar for Game 6.
Thank you, Henry. Yeah, I think we're all just trying to calm ourselves down from that. It wasn't just Conor Heneghan and Alan Norris on the stage who had those elevated heart rates. Paul Nicholson sat next to me, jumped up out of his chair. We heard the almighty roar from the production, the players themselves just next door to us here in the commentary box, in the players' practice room, was glued to the screen and jumping in celebration for Conor Heneghan. Now they've got their own tasks and their own challenges to do. And these are 2 players that need to do it now. Time is beginning to run out for these 2. They both played 2 matches. They're both on -6.
Okay, first leg, it's Trina to throw first. Game on.
The loser of this match will still be on 0 points, but that'll be after 3 games. And then they've got to sit back and wait while Alan Norris, Conor Heneghan, Bialekci all get an extra game, an extra chance to open up the gap between them and the rest of the table. There are 3 places available in this group. Not like on the morning session, if you joined us this morning for Group C, which was 2 positions. 3 from your 5 players will be going through to Saturday night. £5,000 the prize fund. And you've got to say the 2 favourites, Bialekci and Conor Heneghan, are showing why they had that faith.
100.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are plenty of people this week who genuinely think that £5,000 is going to wing their way to their account
140.
come next week. If you were going to win that, what would you buy yourself? Because you're a bit of a collector, aren't you?
I would
55.
Yeah, I'd probably treat myself to a nice collectible. I've seen in the local toy shop, they've just had an order of vintage Power Rangers, so I'd probably go down there and have a look at those.
If I was to win £5,000 this week, I might try and get my hands on that BDO Women's Trophy. And it is up for auction right now. The trophy that Trina has hoisted 10 times. Big story in darts this week. The fact that the BDO is no more because it is insolvent, but all of the assets that they had have gone up for auction, particularly the trophies that they had. And I do believe that the Men's World Championship trophy
75
has been hoisted by the likes of Durrant and Adams 3 times and others. Is up to over £17,000 already. I haven't had a chance to ask Trina actually about how she feels about that, because there's a lot of people I know would love Trina to have it.
34.
You surprised me there. I thought you was going to say you'd put a couple £100 towards a £5,000 prize money and go buy yourself a new shirt.
54. Jamie requires 70.
No, I've got enough for now. Has Jamie got tops?
30.
Not quite
Trini
enough for him.
require 80.
It was right on the wire. It was a well-thrown dart. You could see by the reaction, he probably felt like that was going in.
Game
But
shot
that
in the
is
first leg. Trina Gulliver.
Trina Gulliver, nice clean chip out. And when you do those sort of shots, those little two-dart combinations,
It's Jamie to throw
it just
first.
fills you with a lot of confidence, especially when we look at how she started that leg. She probably expected to actually lose a throw.
140.
Kicked off with just 41 and then a score of 11. So just 52 points after the first 6 darts. But I don't know too many champions in the
100.
past, or certainly 10 times world champions, that let that short term bother them and they'll play it to the very end.
Yeah, well said. The
91.
ability to just process what has happened before and just move on. Where do you believe? And I think that the
100.
men's BDO World Trophy is up for debate. I don't know where that's going to end up. But let's talk about the women's trophy, because Trina's here. She's the best ever.
140.
If it was up to you, where would you want that to be?
I would like it to go somewhere neutral.
100. Jamie
I did hear a
130.
suggestion about putting the trophies actually at the lakeside venue. I think that's probably something I'd like to see. Or I'd like to see them on the tour.
94.
I don't think it should go to an individual, though. Because, and I'm probably going to get absolutely bombarded in a second on social media for this, but yes, she won it 10 times, but she
Jamie
also
requires
lost it.
36.
So when you lose it, you also lose the right to the,
Game
to
shot
the
on the
trophy.
second leg. Jamie Kelling.
Jamie doesn't lose that leg. That's a 13-darter and much more like it. But just to continue that debate, I completely agree with
Trina
what
to
you're
throw
saying.
first. Game on.
We can't forget that Lisa Ashton has won it 4 times. Anastasia has won it 3 times. Suzuki's won it twice.
92.
And I also see people mention that maybe it should go to the last winners, like Wayne Warren, for example. However, the same issue I have there is when Wayne Warren won that, he knew he was winning that World Championship for that year. That 1 year. He held it for that year. He had his time with that trophy. He was the 2020 World Champion. So why would he have a right to it in 2023?
If it's not going to go to some sort of museum, I know there have been certain tweets about how
121.
darts sometimes is not recognised as a sport, and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But ultimately, it would be nice for it to be in the hands of somebody who's going to be the custodian of such a history-making piece of silverware.
At Lakeside, they've got a wall, haven't they, of famous players and faces that have represented that Lakeside. Be lovely just to have a cabinet there with those trophies as retired trophies. That is the romantic
40.
in me. I do think it's going to go and sit proudly on someone's mantelpiece somewhere.
We will be fascinated to
71.
see where they end up anyway. And that will happen on the 23rd of March, the end of that auction. I wonder how many of those trophies Trina's actually won. I think she's won all 3 majors.
112.
Maybe even some of the inter-county ones as well. Jamie's going for tops.
Game shot
And
on the
hitting
third
tops.
leg.
What a
Jamie
great
Kelling.
burst this is from JK. 13 and 15, averaging 107 for the last couple of legs.
Jamie to throw first.
This is a
Game
good
on.
performance.
It's happened to be. Trina is chasing him down.
140.
He appears to be finding a bit of fluency in the game at the moment. It's looked like a bit of effort for him so far tonight.
What other vocations and or
60.
sports can you see a man going up against a woman? We've seen it in golf. I know that Annika Sorenstam was invited to play in some PGA Tour events,
57.
as was Michelle Wee. You see in poker all the time, women going up against men. People like Jennifer Tilley or Vanessa Selst
95.
going up against the likes of Ivy and Helmuth.
He's very rare. It tends to be like
134.
rather than a competitive environment, more like a social, like Soccer Aid, for example, where they have female players playing with the senior legends.
140. Jamie require
This is
170.
a full-on competitive sport on an international platform.
It does happen in snooker these days as well. I mentioned Rhiannon Evans earlier. She's played
60.
in some mixed events in the past, like the snooker shootout.
$59. Jamie require 110.
Just to keep this trend going of 5 visit legs. It's not going to happen this time.
11. Trina
not sure how that could have been worse.
147.
Oh, he still left himself on a 3-darter there. Just one treble here for Trina would cause a few
45.
problems
Jamie
for
require
Jamie
99.
Kelling, but despite the fact he's come under the 100 mark, they are both on 3-dart combinations. This could be a fantastic recovery after the 11 of the last visit.
83.
Gave it a really good scare.
Trina require 102.
Took out 80 in 2 darts earlier in the match. Oh! Has she just gone and left double 19? And she's already hit it tonight. Make
Game
that
shot
2.
the 4 flag.
I guarantee
Trina
you,
Gulliver.
not many people on Planet Darts have seen a check out of 102 that way before.
3 flag, it's Trina to throw first. Game on.
And I can tell you, you'll probably be unlikely to see it many more times again. In a way, when that happens sometimes, you're almost quite fortunate that it goes in the double 2 and you don't
68.
throw it completely off the board.
Do you remember the first time you ever met Trina?
Don't fully remember where or when it was.
180.
I know it was in and up because she's not based too far away from me, you see. So it was it might have even been like a Super League night or something.
60.
Yeah, 23 years ago I met Trina for the first time. I was just a young sprog playing for Northumberland, and she was the main attraction.
57.
People looking around and watching Trina practice on that Saturday, saying she's the best player in the world in the ladies' division. Boy, did they get that right.
135.
And that was a county venue that was littered with names.
81.
Graham Stoddart, Colin Fowler, Andy Smith, and many more. Kevin Dowling was there.
When we talk about county records, she is the most appeared player in Warwickshire history. 258
94.
caps, winning 220 of them. Quite significantly, she's got a record that I don't think will ever be beaten when we're taking a look at the Warwickshire Darts database, which is the Match
83.
Awards.
She
She has won
144.
171 Warwickshire Match Awards.
She might not win leg 5. And what was the prize for those match awards? Because it differs from county to county, doesn't it?
96.
I think you get
Jamie
a
require 100.
certificate and a tenner.
Double 10.
80.
And JK is running the risk
Trina
of
require
being
48.
behind all of a sudden after a really good burst in legs 2 and 3.
The Open, we're 180 in this one as well. Recomposing after a bit of a drag down with that
Game shot the 5th
second
flag.
dart.
Trina Gulliver.
And it was the same as that 102. She pulled dart 2,
6 flag, it's
reset,
Jamie to throw first.
delivered on the
Game
last dart.
What do you think Trina's trophy cabinet looks like?
Big.
Busy.
42.
do believe certain personalities within the sport have won so much that they needed to create extensions for themselves. People like Phil Taylor and
100.
MVG. Can you imagine how many trophies Dieter Hedman's got? I think she's won more tournaments than anybody.
43.
Well, this is big advantage to Trina from this point.
100.
She hasn't played her A-grade stuff here, but she's timed a couple of shots to perfection. And it's this that's been impressive.
93.
Technically, she's hit another double as well, but it was on approach to a leg-winning double, so it doesn't really count. You know how you said earlier that when she was here last, she started to get better and better and better. I'm seeing that happening again.
100.
I thought Jamie Kelling had a really good chance in this group. But right now, he could be the person at the basement after 6 games.
44.
He's in trouble. He's on the ropes. He's in the corner. Can he come out swinging? It's a good switch.
96. Trina record 122.
Trina has the advantage because she's thrown first.
Not a bad lie for a 54, that one. It's bullseye for the match.
97.
Boy, that was close.
Jamie record 127.
No 127 in game.
55.
So Trina comes back.
Trina required 25.
For a first win of the week. Double 8. And gets the job done by 4 legs to 2.
Trina Gulliver.
She rode the storm in legs 2 and 3, but after that, her doubling was exceptional. 67% on the doubles throughout the match, and that somewhat fortunate 102 checkout proved to be pivotal. But that gets her on the ladder to 2 points alongside Alan Norris, albeit with a lesser leg difference. We'll see more of Sebastian Bialekci up against Mr. Nine Darter, Conor Heneghan, after this.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where Trina Gulliver has got the better of Jamie Kelling by 4 legs to 2 in our 6th game of the evening. It's a first win of Group B for the Golden Girl, while Jamie Kelling still waiting to get off the mark. Well, next up for us, it's the Super Pole in Sebastian Bialekci against, I suppose, the player we're going to have to call the 9-dart man at the Super Series, Conor Heneghan. Yes, he did it again in his previous encounter against Alan Norris. You can watch that video in full on our YouTube channel. But let's tuck in and see whether maybe he could do it once again as he takes on Bialekci. Or are we asking for too much, Paul Nicholson and Matthew Edgar?
I don't think we are, Henry, because I'm the one that piped up for a possible second 9-darter of the week. But this one,
first, like it's
most
Sebastian
importantly,
first. Game on.
is a battle of 2 players on 4 points. Someone is about to remain undefeated and could be halfway to maybe winning the group on 12 points. But is 12 points going to win this group, Matt?
Yeah, I think it might. I think 12 might be enough.
100.
Just trying to work out the possibilities and the probabilities.
97.
And all things considered, you'd say Jamie Kelling's going to pick up some wins from somewhere and take points off of people. So yeah, I'd say 12 will be the target. Or should I say the security.
99.
Both of these guys have hit 9-darters in important tournaments. What is it about young players these days? They just seem to hit them more regularly. They used to be rare. And they are fairly rare here in Portsmouth. But in fact,
100.
this year on the PDC Pro Circuit, there's only been 1. That came from Graham Hall, who has been involved with us over the last 12 months.
60. Sebastian, you've
I
got
think we can safely
146.
say at the end of that sentence, so far. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more as the year moves on.
114.
I was informed in one of the commercial breaks that Heneghan at the start of the week promised a 9-darter, so he's actually a man of his word.
Sebastian, you've got 32.
Quite a bold promise as well.
I wonder what else he said.
Game shot in the first leg.
First blood
Sebastian
to Sebastian,
Bialekci.
who is just plodding on, doing his thing, not saying much.
Second leg, it's Conor to throw first.
This is a much improved start to what happened in Group A for Sebastian, who had a bit of a ropey time of it on Monday, didn't he?
59.
Yeah, it was a bit in and out. I mean, he did lose one game, averaging 98, his 3rd game on Monday afternoon. That was the day he averaged 93.24, but was only able to convert 4 points.
And was 5th in the table with that 93 average for the day.
100.
One thing that just doesn't let him down is that wonderful follow-through, that technique that he has. That is going to stand him in good stead for the next 10 to 20 years, you would hope.
99.
There are veterans of the sport who would pay good money to have this technique.
140.
We mentioned the World Cup earlier because it has been released today that the PDC World Cup will be fully a pairs event now.
140.
No more singles.
Sebastian, you've got 136.
Sebastian played in it last year with Krzysztof Ratajski, but he doesn't have any ranking money in that system, which means he's not eligible for the team right now.
96. Conor, you've got 160.
This one's dropping away from Conor in the early chapters. Sebastian playing at a very high level.
Sebastian, you require 40. Game shown the second.
A very high level.
Sebastian Bialekci.
30 darts for the first 2. If he can replicate that, he could equalise his best average of the week of exactly 100.2.
He did play in the World Cup a year ago, despite not having a
96.
tour card, and that was due to that big run he had at the UK Open where he reached the quarter-final. The prize money he had on there jumped him above
140.
fellow Polish darters. Ended up partnering up with Krzysztof Ratajski. Quite the partnership. There's
59.
a couple of interesting partnerships in the upcoming World Cup.
There's going to be a lot of movement over the next few months when it comes to those sides. And in fact, in the Polish squad, you've got two players in Krzysztof Kachuk and Radek Zaganski. They are only 4 places apart in the order of merit. So there will be a bit of a battle between those two to see who will accompany Mr. Ratajski, the Polish captain.
58. $140.
Is it just me, or is his action getting smoother as the week goes on?
I think he's probably in a position at the moment where
60.
probably playing with
Sebastian
quite a bit of freedom as
121.
well. He's top of the table. He's lost just one leg.
105.
Almost takes out another 5-visit leg there. It's almost where he lives in this match.
This is what we said earlier on in the week with Conor Heneghan as well. He gives us these flashes of brilliance, which is no better than the 9-darter, and then doesn't follow them up.
Game shot on the third leg. Sebastian Bialekci.
In a situation now where he's 3-0 down to Sebastian, but he's not really offering much resistance at the moment.
Conor to throw first.
An average of just 71.33 at the moment for Conor Heneghan. Like
140.
Got us all thinking now when he starts with a treble 20, then another, and potentially another.
Especially how tightly bunched they was and just sat up lovely in the board for him. Grabs your attention when a dart sits like that for Conor Heneghan. You just expect that to happen.
180.
It's feast or famine. It's been famine for the last 3 legs. Now all of a sudden he's hitting almost everything.
100.
He had this earlier in the week against Warburton on Monday. It was a dreadful game, both averaging mid-70s. And then to end it,
138.
He took at 344 in 6 darts. 180 followed by 164. That's probably the worst dart that Sebastian's thrown all week. That was for an 18.
43.
Might be the worst dart he's thrown in his life.
11.
Love the way sometimes darts referees just emphasise a small number, just to make you feel a little bit worse.
180. Conor required 32.
The only way Conor will feel worse is if he misses this. And Bialekci takes the 75.
Game shot on the fourth.
But that's not going to happen.
Conor Heneghan.
That's a much improved 14-darter.
Fifth leg, it's Sebastian to throw first.
Just got this habit of coming from nowhere. In that leg, he was completely out of it. And then out of nowhere, he hits a big 180. And he sat on a 2-darter, and Heneghan all of a sudden has gone from having all the time in the world to throwing darts at the 16. Essentially, to save the match.
I do get the feeling that Heneghan has pressed the snooze button a little bit in this game. Because he wasn't very good the first 3 legs, but now he's playing some really good stuff.
57.
It's still firmly advantage Bialekci, though. I wonder what other sports they're really into in Poland. I know that they're big into their speedway. Our good late friend Nigel Pearson used to spend a lot of time in Poland
135.
with the 1-geared bikes. They've had some pretty good footballers over the years, like Robert Lewandowski. It's a great last start.
Sebastian Bialekci,
Just makes things a little bit easier if he gets a look. And now he will.
46. Connie requires 71.
Choices. Chooses to stick with a double 16. He found success over here around about a minute and a half ago. But this time he's had to move right over to the right-hand side of the oche to try and come around
39.
that dart. You can just see the way the angle of that one's gone in. It's just caught the flight and come very wide. Here's the bull for the match.
49.
It's a good miss.
Connie
But you
requires
sense
32.
that the miss will give Conor his second leg of the contest. One left.
Game
And finds the target. Working very, very hard to stay in this contest here. Just imagine if he can get through this after just getting through against Norris in his previous match. The headlines, I'm sure, will be about the 9-darter, but the way he was able to get through that game with Norris after surviving match darts is probably more important. It's not even funny about the fact that he's got 2 9-darters here and hasn't had a bonus for either of them, because neither are in Champions Week.
$140.
From the position that Sebastian was in, there's no way in my mind that he should lose from that position.
85.
But we have seen people lose from 3-0 up this week.
And the way this one feels like it's going,
140.
one player's getting better, the other's getting worse. And we have recently seen
80.
Sebastian throw big leads away. Just around about a week ago, he went down
46.
to Minehead. He took part in the UK Open. He was 4-0 up against Josh Richardson and lost
96.
6-4.
Connie requires 125.
Does them demons rear their head?
$47.
Not over yet.
$60.
But can't get a treble.
Connie requires 78.
Meaning that Heneghan's shot is way more makeable. Definitely now.
Game
Because
shot
he had
the
plenty of room to the right of that dart.
Heneghan.
It's 3-3 all of a sudden.
7th and final
tells
against
you a bit of a
Sebastian to
story.
throw first. Game on.
He was averaging high 90s for the first 3 legs, Bialekci. He's come back by 10.
59.
Heneghan has actually raised his average by about 8 points since then.
Yeah, I believe when you went
45.
3-0 down, I actually mentioned he's about 71. So one player's dropped 10, the other one's raised 10. Which naturally is going to put us at a
43.
level score.
This is not going well for the Pole.
$125.
And that's more bad news. He was a wrestler, wasn't he? Bad News Brown.
Also had the Bad News Barrett.
137.
Very popular gimmick. I love that one.
I like how I went for the older one. You went for the more current one. Might have shown my age there.
98.
Oh, that's a great last start. I expected him to go to the 18s there. Both on big 3 darters. And Bialekci gets a first look at this one. No shot at bullseye.
96. Conor
Heneghan
146.
has obviously got a biggest finish of the night of 141. All is not lost
86.
if he loses this match.
Wrestling requires 68.
But Conor would love to remain undefeated. But he's going to have to dodge another match dart.
36.
And he does.
Conor requires 60.
He was 3-0 down. He has had to watch match starts, but they have missed. He's got 2 of his own.
He knows how big this is.
Going
And he's up to it as well.
the match.
You just can't
Conor
count this
Heneghan.
guy out. It's incredible when you think about it. They've spent a lot of time together this week. And that is now 3-1 to Heneghan in their head-to-head this week. He's beaten him on Monday, Tuesday, and now Thursday with a win from 3-0 down. Incredible stuff. 6 points for Conor Heneghan in the table now. Bialekci will stay on 4. But when we come back, Jamie Kelling will be up against Alan Norris, who is looking to get to 4.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where Conor Heneghan has come back from 3-0 down against Sebastian Bialekci to seal a 4-3 victory against the Pole. That's Bialekci's first defeat of the evening here in Group B. 3 games to go, beginning with Jamie Kelling up against Alan Norris, with Matthew Edgar and Paul Nicholson in commentary.
Thanks again, Henry. It's getting a bit urgent for Jamie Kelling now. This is his last game. He will complete his quarter of 4 matches first, whereas Alan Norris has got this game and another one to come. So he can add to his already 2-point total from the 2 games that he's got. But if JK does not get a win in this game against Chuck, he will go into Friday night pointless.
Jamie Kelling could take inspiration, though, from
Okay,
that
first
last
leg,
game.
it's Jamie to throw first. Game on.
We saw Conor Heneghan come from 3 legs down. Jamie Kelling now needs to come from 3 matches down to get himself in this.
83.
Which I think this is quite an important game here for Jamie Kelling, because Alan Norris is already on 2 points. A win here will put him on to 4. So going into tomorrow, Jamie Kelling will be 4 points behind. And if Trina was to beat Conor Heneghan in the next one, he'd be 4 points behind 3 players.
100.
That could be quite hard to turn around.
And if you take into consideration tomorrow's schedule, Jamie will play his first game in match 3,
100.
which means he'll be even further behind. Alan is currently residing in the town of
58.
Bo'ness, which is a place in Scotland that I know quite well. Done a couple of exhibitions in Bo'ness. It's very famous, actually, amongst people who have done
97.
Scottish exhibitions, because at the town hall where they put the exhibitions on, the oche is usually uphill. I remember the first time I went there and I saw Alan and Gary Stone, Gary Anderson was there, Darryl Fitton was there. And they said, have you worked here before? And I said, no. He said, by the end of the night, you're going to have sore thighs. I thought, this is some sort of joke. He said, no.
95. Jamie
When that oche's on the stage, it's actually
120.
uphill a bit. So you might have sore legs. They were absolutely right.
100.
Can go one better than
And then
that,
you
and I
require
will do
75.
that in the next leg.
Single 18 for Topsen. Misses the single. And could well pay the price for that.
35. Jamie required 20.
It's a nice invitation for JK.
Game
And
shot
he
on the first leg.
RSVPs yes.
Jamie Kelling.
You can see from that puff of the cheeks that he's quite relieved at getting that first leg.
Second leg, it's Alan to throw first. Game on.
Feel free to join in this discussion. Join us on Twitter at MSS Darts. Chuck in my tag at the Edgar 501. It'll pop up on my screen in front of me, and I'll be able to see what you guys have came across before. But the topic we're talking about here is strange oches or strange dartboards or throws. And this one was when we was on our way from Northamptonshire to the Lincolnshire Open, which was played at a
49.
caravan park in Skegness. Now, on the way, we stopped off for belly buster breakfast, and we stopped off for a little throw of the darts on the way. And the dartboard was sort of halfway down the wall. And we've gone in and we've said to the guy, well, it's a great time for the story, isn't it? We said to the guy, the dartboard's not at the right height. And he says, no, because the roof's low, 'cause it had beams, it was one of these old country bars which had the beams. He says, because of where they are, what you've got to do is you've got to go
45.
down onto the throwing level. And he came out and he lifted up a hatch and he had to walk down a step and stand in like a little hole in the floor to throw the darts.
43.
So he was at the right height.
Whereabouts was this?
Somewhere between Northamptonshire and Lincolnshire.
There's a bit of distance between those two places.
55.
You're going to have to let me know where this is. That's very intriguing. Lincolnshire's got a pretty rich history in darts.
81.
Had some great county teams over the years. We talked a little bit earlier about
85.
Scott Baker, how he'd won the Lincolnshire Open in the past, which was a ranking event. Maybe the biggest thing that's happened to Jamie Kelling is winning here in week 5 in Super Series 2. But his participation has now got a big fat question mark next to it
97.
for the finals on Saturday night.
Does Jamie Kelling for you
58.
looked like a player who came here and had accelerated success and then came back here with this one, almost expecting a repeat
46.
performance?
No, I don't think so. I think the way that Jamie thinks, I think he's very much turn up, do my best, and whatever happens, happens. But I do believe that maybe that success in the previous Super Series
135.
came
And
a little quicker than he
148.
thought. Because he has had injuries.
58. Jamie required
And he's
50.
taken good recovery time to get back. But he could be 2-0 up.
Games
And he
on
is
the
2-0
second
up.
leg. Jamie Kelly.
Best leg in the world, but it's a 21-dart break. And if he walks away with 2 points,
So it's
oddly,
Jamie to throw first.
you
Game
feel okay about that now.
on. 55.
What do you make of the throw of Jamie? Because it's quite loopy, isn't it?
That's exactly how I would describe it. A bit of lift, plenty of loop, which does lead to a bit more
180.
inconsistency.
Consistent elbow height
100.
through the throat. Norris delivers the darts out of a very strangling grip.
82.
A lot of fingers on the tungsten and the plastic nature of the stems. When you get these 2 in the lead, you can't afford to go to sleep. When he played Trina Gulliver in match 6, he did have a good 2-leg spell, but ultimately after that,
59.
Trina was taking her chances.
There's a couple of good finishes
60.
in that game. The 80 and 2 darts, and then the 102.
Oh, the back leg just lifting there for
100.
Alan. Just got to watch out for that sometimes. That could force the right shoulder to go a little bit low through the throat.
95.
Or is it
And
just
you
a
require 80.
byproduct of somebody letting the dart go late, trying to save it? Why would you do that?
40.
Has he been practicing
Jamie
with Richard
require
North?
170.
We always label that the unnecessarily aggressive route.
100.
I get it when you've got 2 darts in
And
your
you
hand.
require 40.
When you've got 3, you run that risk of throwing it off the board and just costing yourself a dart.
Game shot on the third
Hasn't
leg.
cost himself the
Alan
leg.
Norris.
We did actually see that earlier in the week from John Michael. He had 80 left and hit 2 double
It's
tops,
Alan
but
to throw first. Game
John
on.
Michael does what he wants. I like starting a leg with a maximum.
180.
That's his second 180 of this game, and both were at the start of legs.
100.
I'm not getting too carried away. See?
We have a tweet
100.
from Stephen Miles, who said that that pub I've just described is not the only one. He said there is actually one in
41.
mid-Wales called the Triangle, where you have to go in a pit to throw due to the low beams.
That sounds like a really mystic pub, doesn't it? The Triangle.
81.
Throw darts from the pit.
That sounds like a great day out.
You'd certainly get your steps in, because you have to climb out all the time to go and
96.
retrieve the
And you
dart.
record
And it's a weird
140.
feeling when you're retrieving your darts with like an underarm.
How could I find that place?
30.
Good name for a pub, by the way. The Triangle. If it's a darts pub, it should be the Circle.
76. Alan, you require 110.
This one seems to be all Alan Norris all of a sudden. Oh, you know what we say about people dropping a dart and what happens next?
74.
That was a bad dart. That went in a bit funny.
was almost as if he gripped it closer to the point because it like wavered to the board.
100, and you require 36. Game
They were
shot
thrown a
the
bit better.
flag.
We now have a
Alan
tie
Norris.
game at 2-2. We broke a bit of a streak in the last match with Heneghan and that comeback win.
Fifth leg, it's Jamie to throw first.
He
Game
won against the darts. And we hadn't had a game won against the darts since game 2.
96.
Funnily enough, Heneghan won them both. Norris has one win tonight over Trina Gulliver. He had the darts in that game.
140.
He does not have it in this one, but he will have the darts against Bialekci in game 10. And it's Bialekci who has got the long
93.
shift in this group, playing games 1 and 10.
$60.
Jamie's become a father in the last year as well. That'll change anybody's life.
80.
And he absolutely adores being a dad.
$100.
This is where 65 could come into play if you don't get trebles. He's got 65 at the first two.
85. $59. Jamie
This one's a bit scruffy
147.
considering some of the games we've seen tonight. But it's that time of night where a little bit of tiredness could kick in. What can you do at this time of night to make sure you're nice and sharp? Hydration? Maybe getting a little bit of fresh air at times?
38. Jamie requires 68.
He's had the lead throughout the game until the point he was equalised by Norris in leg 4. But now, Chuck could take the lead for himself. But doesn't get a shot at the double.
48. Jamie required 20.
The lead is Kelling's again.
Leg. Jamie Kelling.
I think the phrase that comes to mind is topsy-turvy. 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2. Sounds like a very complicated dance move.
96.
And it is a mightily important situation for Jamie Kelling.
180.
He's in danger that if he doesn't win this match, he is going to leave the arena
60.
after Thursday, playing all his fixtures and losing them all. It's not impossible to turn that around. I remember being in a group with David Pallett, who did exactly that.
100.
Lost all his games and then came and qualified. You've only got to make the top 3.
He's in a pretty good position here as Jamie. Courtesy of finding his first maximum. And every single 180 in this game has been found at the start of a leg.
100.
Norris is starting to suffer. Earlier in the day, it was averages of 93 and 88. This one is 79, so we're starting to see
Jamie
a downward curve.
121.
Does he go bull?
96.
He did. I've seen people lay up for shots like that
148.
over the last few months, but not Jamie.
I think I'd have done the same. I'd have laid that up, to be honest. And then you'd get burned by shots like that from Alan Norris. He was on the receiving end of a big blow like that earlier on when Conor Heneghan took out a 9-darter against him. He's now just dished out his own big hammer blow.
Boy, will that hurt Jamie. Just imagine if he had laid up for that shot.
85.
He'd have felt even worse. But the fact that he was able to dig that out just goes to show the class that Alan Norris possesses.
I've seen that before here at the Super Series. I believe it was Graham Usher who turned down a dart at the double 5. And then his
60.
opponent took out, I mean, a 153. It was a real biggie, a 2 treble to a double combo.
100.
You might be able to hear that when he's really digging deep, Norris does talk to himself.
45.
And Jamie's just giving information to Alan. And it's one of maybe I'm on the cusp of losing this game where he had 1 dot to win it.
Well, Alan was talking to himself. Jamie was punching himself.
60.
It's the talking to. That seems to be the more productive method at the moment.
Only 3 140s in this game,
41.
which is a bit of a surprise considering how many legs we've had. Ton plus scores, 9 each. It's been very
43.
tight.
Alan, you've got 139.
Well, it looks like Jamie may be leaving us on Thursday evening with 0 points unless Alan fluffs his lines.
He's recovered the situation. He's saved the situation
81.
here. Be happy enough leaving a single to double combination after that first dart slipping in the single 4. It's just not happening
42.
for Jamie Kelling. And now Alan Norris
58.
has 6 darts at 58.
Only needs the 2.
The
That's a monstrous win for Alan Norris. I know that Jamie Kelling will feel very disappointed, but just take solace in the fact that someone has qualified before, even after losing their first 4 matches in the group. Norris goes to 4 points. We've got Conor Heneghan up against Trina Gulliver in the next match, and that's where Trina Gulliver is hoping to get to 4 points.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where Alan Norris has got the better of Jamie Kelling by 4 legs to 3. We're heading into our penultimate match of the night. It's Conor Heneghan against Trina Gulliver with Paul Nicholson and Matthew Edgar.
Penultimate match then, and the final game of day 1 in Group B for both of these players. It's been a landmark night again for Conor, but Trina is not going to leave us pointless. She may even leave with 4 points, which is what Bialekci and Norris have right now. You get the feeling maybe she might need to beat Conor, if not tonight, but tomorrow.
The fixtures will reverse. So tomorrow, this will be their first fixture in match number 2.
Okay, first leg, it's Conor to throw first. Game on.
How often do you see a set of darts that are 27 grams? There are some sets out there which you can say are pretty much the same as some others.
135.
Ryan Palmer, someone who's played here a couple of times this year, has got 28-gram darts. Ryan Searle on the tour has got 32-gram darts.
100.
But these are the only 27-gram darts that I know of.
Traditionally, players don't use those really heavier weights, do they?
61.
Normally around about the 21, 22, 23 mark.
What weight are yours?
21. They've always played with 23,
100.
but recently moved to 22 to try and help the process of coming back into playing.
92.
Yeah, I've got a 22 as well. Maybe the most popular weight, 22.
$140.
At times throughout her career, she has had some very, very shiny stuff. As in shiny golden flights, shiny golden shirts.
96.
Go onto the internet and you type in Trina Gulliver, you'll see some phenomenal darts attire. And she's probably hoisting a trophy at most of those
64.
photos.
Connie 117.
Trina had a shot at this in her first game of the night and she missed it.
Trina required 97.
It proved to be quite costly against Sebastian Bialekci. Choice to make. Traditional route. I'm surprised she didn't go for double 19. Actually, she's hit it twice tonight.
Once that was on the back of that big 102 finish, but Conor Heneghan does not like the lie there. He's gone in the middle of the bed and the dart has stood up. Probably be quite happy with hitting the single in that situation because he's able to come down for a nice open target, which he does convert.
Conor Heneghan.
Not saying he deliberately went low on that one, but
second against Trina
he's
to
probably
throw
quite grateful for it.
If you cast your mind back to the 1987 World Championship final between John Lowe and Eric Bristow,
45.
the dart before the championship was won on double 10 is one of the most surprising shots at double top you'll find in a World Championship final. It was nowhere near tops.
100.
So to bring up what you just said about the fact that Conor didn't deliberately hit the single, but it was a good thing. It was a good thing for John Lowe in 1987.
100.
It was a big 20, a good inch underneath the double top, but then the double 10 went in, and it was game over for John Lowe's second world title.
140.
Interesting when you say cast your mind back to that year.
121.
Wouldn't have even been 1 year old at that period of time.
What was the first World Championship final you can remember?
84.
I remember Peter Manley, Phil Taylor.
65.
Which one?
Is it 2000?
Yep.
I could probably remember other
80.
matches, but I
require
don't think I can remember a World
170.
Championship final prior to that one. I remember the World Match Play finals prior to that.
And about that time, Peter Manley was the world #1,
98.
as was
require 97.
Chrissy Manley. She took part in the very first Lakeside World Championship, losing out to Trina in the semis by 2-0. And in that game, Trina averaged
57.
almost 95.
require 72.
She beat Mandy Solomons in the final. Arguably the best player of the 90s.
Game
And
shot the
Trina
second
does
leg.
equalise on that
Trina
72
Gulliver.
checkout.
So it's Conor to throw first.
There's a lot made about Phil Taylor's dominance in the sport between 1995 and 2003. Never losing at the Circus Tavern.
100.
But when you consider that Trina started her quest for multiple world titles in 2001, that's when it started.
60.
She didn't lose until 2008. She lost in the final to Anastasia Deromslova by 2-0.
83.
And prior to that, she had won 7 world titles. Can you imagine how that must have felt?
100.
Going to Lakeside and thinking, well, here's another one.
$140.
Still picking up titles to this day.
They picked up the last world title in 2016.
100.
And her reaction to that, that was the most animated when she beat Dieter Hedman in a somewhat below par final. But there was a lot of nerves,
54.
a lot of anxiety in that final. Trina going for number 10 and Dieter going for number 1. A lot of people thought that that was Dieter's time.
92. Got over
Didn't prove to be the case.
124.
Stay on the 18s.
41. Training require 149.
She has had a lot of darts today, which have been in the small 20.
99. Connie require 83.
That was a nice little setup really there for Trina. Left herself a handy 2-dart combination where she can pick a double. It forces Conor Heneghan to chase down this ball.
Training require 50.
It's a big, genuine break opportunity, especially the way Trina has been hitting the doubles tonight.
Double 10's big. This is for a break.
30. Connie
She'd like
require
to take that one
25.
again.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what that hit, but it wasn't the double 10.
Game shot the
That is
third leg.
the double
Conor
8, and
Heneghan.
Conor Heneghan will feel he's got away with one there. Trina's doubling. Till that
Fourth leg,
point,
it's Trina to throw first. Game on.
7 from 17.
59.
So the sort of average you want to be is 33%, 1 in 3. That is well above that.
100.
Trina's also got an MBE, hasn't she? And I think when you consider what she's done with her darts career, that can be lauded, but she's done other things as well, which are arguably even more impressive. You dug
60.
up a thing that a lot of people might not know about Trina. She has got the MBE, which I know she is very proud of.
123.
There's something else.
Something that doesn't really happen in the darts world too often. Something that
96.
dart players certainly don't get recognised for, and that is Sports Personality of the Year. The BBC Midlands Sports Personality
45.
of the Year in 2003. I can't think of any or many dart situations
60.
where they've even been up for nominations for these awards, never mind winning them.
Yeah, Phil Taylor was once second position in the overall BBC Sports Personality of the Year, and he lost to AP McCoy.
94.
I think that was more of a campaign just to try and get darts a little bit of recognition for the greatest player of all time.
145.
Ultimately going up against AP McCoy, it was a bit of an uphill battle.
80.
Looking to repeat the trick from a previous game.
60.
Unfortunately, Heneghan has a chance now for 3-1. And if it's a break for the Irishman, the curtains will be close to being drawn.
35.
He goes round the houses with no success.
Trini required 20.
To level us back up once again. Just come on the inside and inside again.
No score.
She throws away the last dart because
5.
there's nothing you can do with 5. Unless you got more than one dart, like Conor Heneghan. There's only one dart left.
1. Trini required 20.
Unable to convert. He's had 21 darts here to break the throw. Will he get more?
No.
Game's on the 4th leg.
And Trina does
Trina Gulliver.
find that 4th leg. So we have a game on our hands now. Do you remember when referees used to say the word scored for something small? 1 scored. Now it's just 1. Not that I'm saying that Owen's done anything wrong there, the referee. I'm being a bit reminiscent about some of the older referees who used to do it slightly differently, like Bruce Spendley and Freddie Williams. The 2 referees I saw more than any other when I was growing up.
The old classic at the end of the leg. Yes!
I love that.
125.
Someone's going to have to resurrect that in a certain way. But I know that Marco Meyer, one of the referees that has worked here before, he does a bit of that.
36.
He says, yes, that's game shot. Not in that accent, because that was a bit posh for him.
125.
He's been getting some wicked deflections over the last few legs, hasn't he? But you could classify Conor as having a very up and down night.
85.
Beat Jamie Kelling by 4 legs to 2. Then beat Norris 4-3 after being behind in that match and hitting a 9-darter.
171.
He just glued those points together for a 171 to leave a leg 5 winning chance.
140. Connie required 36. Game's on the 5th
3-2 up now, and
Conor
within 1
Heneghan.
leg of a perfect night. Maybe the bookmakers know what they're doing.
6-leg, it's Trina to throw first.
It could be 3rd time lucky, though, because he was the favourite on Monday. He was the favourite on Tuesday. He was the joint favourite tonight. Him and
125.
Sebastian Bialekci, who's coming up in our last game. It's Alan Norris. So they might even get that right in the 1-2 department.
15.
Good grouping, Conor. Good grouping. That's about as positive as I could be. I'm sure there are lots of people out there wondering if Trina was at her peak.
9.
Was there a possibility that she could have turned to the PDC at around maybe 2004,
60.
2005? Would it have made sense? Or did She always do the right thing in her career by staying with the BDO. Your thoughts?
180.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because we now live in an era of data and numbers and stats that we can make a much more educated guess. Where in those days, a lot of it happened on pen and paper, and it only ever really was left with the markers, the players, and anyone around the board who was watching.
60.
I was told an awful lot about Trina, obviously being from the same sort of area, and there was an awful lot of people that said she could have been top 16 material in
99.
a multi-gender world.
27.
That wasn't her path, though. But she now takes part in seniors events,
87.
which is men and women, which is great. Recently, we saw Lisa Ashton, part of the World Seniors Championship. Trina was there. Dita's played in it.
Trina require 40.
Going the distance again.
Game
yes,
on
we
the
are.
sick flag. Trina Gulliver.
Third time in a row. And the fourth time in 5 games.
7th from final
After
against
getting
Conor to
some
throw first.
big gaps between the leg counts at the start of play. We've had a lot of tight action going towards the end.
96.
This is a huge leg of darts for Trina. If she can snag it, she will firmly be in the mix tomorrow.
121.
I know it's Friday already, but it'll feel like tomorrow.
When she was in that week, when I said she really picked it up, when she was playing her best, she was throwing so firm.
180.
What she did in that last visit. She's going to need another big one there. There was Conor Heneghan. It's a very well-timed 180 when he was just being asked all the questions by the 10-time world champion. He finds the biggest darts and he keeps finding.
88.
It's got to be another maximum, you feel.
$59.
You've got one maximum each in this game. But the fact that Heneghan has found his in the last leg is gargantuan.
99.
And going into Friday night's action,
45.
it's looking like
Connie requires 38.
the 3 favourites are going to be Norris, Bialekci, and Heneghan. Oh, hello, double one.
No score.
He didn't expect to be going there.
I don't think he really did. I think that was a very soft effort. It was a very, I'll throw it speculatively in the area, but
41.
ideally I want to come low and start again.
38.
The last thing he wanted to do there was hit the top wire and come back at double one.
Game shot and the
He
match.
does everything right in the end.
Conor Heneghan.
And he gets a tight win against the female legend, who will walk away from the venue tonight with 2 points and a small glimmer of hope of getting through this group tomorrow, but she may have to beat Conor Heneghan in game 2 when we start on Friday night. Heneghan, 8 points from 8. He's in the box seat. When we come back, it will be the final match of the schedule. Alan Norris up against Bialekci.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where Conor Heneghan has got the better of Trina Gulliver by 4 legs to 3. One final game for us this evening. Alan Norris up against Sebastian Bialekci, watched by Paul Nicholson and Matthew Edgar.
Yeah, one more match, and then we can all have a little bit of a rest before we come back at 9:30 in the morning to see the climax of Group C. And this one is a playoff to see who will finish in second position in the table before we come back. Chuck up against Bolt. 2 nicknames with no "the" at the start. I like to see that. You might want to put your glasses on,
first
Alan.
It's Alan to throw
You might need them.
Game on.
Now, can he finish strong? Beat Jamie Kelling by 4 legs to 3 in match 8.
30.
But Bialekci has been plotting his way through the field this evening. Losing 4-3 to Heneghan.
140.
Hurt a little bit because he was 3-0 up.
As you've probably worked out by now, tomorrow what we do is we flip the fixtures
125.
around. So although this is the last game tonight, tomorrow night it will be the first game. If these two share
58.
this fixture by going 1 each on the head-to-head and both taking 2 points, that means by the time Trina
46.
or Jamie Kelling come back to the board, we'll have Conor Heneghan on 8 points and then Sebastian and Alan Norris on 6. That's a sizable chunk
61.
to try and claw back, especially when Trina, the only player at the bottom who's got points, has to take on Conor Heneghan, who is top.
You do get the feeling that if these 2 fixtures that they'll have on Friday are shared and Heno gets the win,
100.
that might be your top 3. It's a lot of work for Kelling to do, especially when his leg difference is -9.
80.
Well, from that position, we could be talking about Jamie Kelling when he comes back to the board being 6 points off of qualifying.
That's where you'll need
180.
every single result to go your way, not only when it comes to the result, but the scoreline as well.
44.
Funnier things have
And
happened,
required
though.
20.
This is the MODUS Super Series, and we have already had this week, which has been extraordinary.
Game shot on the
First
first
blood
leg.
to Chuck.
Alan Norris. Second
He's
against
called Chuck
Sebastian to
Norris.
throw first. Game on.
Do you know about Chuck's, and I mean not Alan, but Chuck Norris, about his infamous fight with Bruce Lee?
96.
Have you seen any footage of it?
No.
It's from a very good movie.
140.
You should watch it. It's incredibly retro. It's from the 70s. Might have been the late 60s. Game of Death, I think it was. But it is highly regarded as one of the best fight
140.
scenes ever filmed. And here's something really interesting. I've worked with PDC Europe
81.
for years, and we used to have this barman called Peter, and he was really good, and I mean really good, at martial arts.
133.
Started chatting to him one day, and he said, "Oh yeah, I trained with Chuck Norris back in the 80s." I said, "Wow, isn't that incredible?"
45.
He said
Sebastian
he was rubbish.
132.
Straight-faced. He said he was absolutely awful.
9.
We did have that as part of our video package earlier, didn't we? Who would you want to help you in a fight? I said Chris
100.
Mason.
I like the way Owen Binks said himself.
He couldn't punch his way out of a wet paper bag.
100.
There he is, the tough man of the Super Series.
If he was punching smoke, the smoke would be
85.
intact. Like I said, it's a good job he's a brilliant referee. Because he's not a very good chef.
58.
I wouldn't put him in a boxing ring against anybody. We'll just keep him with a microphone in his hand calling the scores, because that's what he's best at.
He'd probably be quite good
44.
at running away from trouble, though, because he's got these really big shoes.
This is good.
133.
That's good enough to get to a finish.
Alan Norris is sending out the distress signals right now.
93.
This is something that
Sebastian Bialekci,
we've seen quite a
170.
bit before, and there they are. Look at the size of those.
Look at those sideshow bobs.
100. Alan, you're
The only referee has got his
134.
own theme song. Do, 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 do.
Oh, it's 2 double tops.
114. Sebastian Bialekci, 70.
He's been very animated on the stage tonight, hasn't he? Is he made to pay for that miss? Ooh, that was close.
38. Alan, you require 20.
Can throw you off that as well when you get so close to a treble and run the risk of bursting the score. No rush here from Alan Norris. Taking his
Game's on the
time.
third leg. Alan Norris.
Taking the lead.
He's been very good at double 10, hasn't he? He's taken a few double tops tonight, but
Sebastian to throw first.
from my own
Game
memory, that double 10 has been at his mercy.
on. 96.
It's just a matter of time before we see Norris at a big seniors event.
100.
On the evidence of what we've seen so far today, yes. But my concern is still sort of there when he plays a long format day.
49.
We've seen signs of it already, and he's probably able to brush it off because at the moment the darts are going with you. And when they're going with you, it's easy just to keep focused.
125.
But when it starts to go a little bit wrong, that's when all these little negative feelings that you've got can soon start coming in. And I just worry about him trying to
140.
manage an entire day. I think once he gets to one, we'll probably see him do quite well. Certainly on the evidence of what we've seen so far. I mean, he averaged nearly 94 in his opening
100.
game. He averaged 88 and 83. That's going to be competitive on the Seniors Tour. I think he's just got to get there first.
80.
That's unlucky. I don't say that very often because I don't believe in a great deal of luck when it comes to darts, but that was very unfortunate.
But that is the terminology of unlucky. He threw the dart, it hit the dart, and it came out.
How ironic that Norris gets the 140 that Bialekci maybe could have had. And it actually did make a very big difference.
You require 36.
Double 18 to be within one of another victory. 2 markers.
80.
Couldn't use either of them.
Sebastian, you require 40. Game shot on the fourth leg.
This one's tied up then.
Sebastian Bialekci.
Alan Norris is very well known for making the 2014 Lakeside final against Stephen Bunting, which he lost.
Game on.
But don't forget that he made the quarterfinals of the PDC World Championship back in 2016. Lost out to Jelle Klaassen in that quarterfinal by 5 sets to 4. It was a thrilling game. Klaassen averaged 99.35. Norris 98.33 in a 9-set thriller.
140.
And that was when Klaassen was eliminated by Gary Anderson, who was in insatiable form.
140.
Good World Championship, that one.
59.
Can you name any of the players that he beat en route to that final at Lakeside?
$135.
Couple of world champions in there.
No. Scott Mitchell.
58.
You got the first name right. Scott Waits. And he took a Glenn Durrant in the last 16. James Wilson, who was the number 2 seed at the time. And then Mr. Court, Jan Dekker,
56.
in the semis before losing to Bunting in 11 sets.
Was that in the Mr. Coat days, or had you already transferred to the double decker?
No, I think that was the Mr. Court days with that
140. Alan, you require 70.
incredible white jacket. Double top.
Game
And
show
Norris
the
is
fifth leg.
3-2 up.
Alan
Great
Norris.
chance now to walk away with 6 points.
You don't know why he was called Mr. Coat. It was
See if we can
pretty much
Sebastian
because he
Bialekci
wore like a
first. Game
blazer, a coat jacket for his walk-on. He did obviously take it off to
100.
throw the darts. Well, he is one of the most talked about nicknames in darts and one of the most strangest sort of gimmicks that a player has had.
140.
Alan Norris's average is climbing again.
81.
Both players over the 90. 92.14 for Alan Norris.
45.
We say about being competitive on that seniors tour. It's a change of darts, I believe, there from
40.
Norris, just switching over by the case. Does this quite a lot. Here's a couple of sets set up ready for him.
45.
So it feels a little bit different. Change the temperature of the barrel in the hand. I've had situations in the past where players really enjoy having cold darts. My mind goes to Stuart Keller to put his darts in the fridge at the Alexandra Palace in the practice room.
$91. Sebastian Bialekci,
Could he use
157.
the 25 and bull there as well to guarantee himself a finish?
59.
This will be one of the rare occasions in a match where you don't actually want to hit a 180. There'll be no danger of that from here.
$85.
There is a
Sebastian
bit of
Bialekci,
danger
98.
for Sebastian. That's a great first dart.
Game show the
That's a
sixth
great
flag.
finish there
Sebastian
from
Bialekci.
Sebastian Bialekci. Takes us all the way to a deciding leg.
Seventh
He is
and final
Mr.
leg is Alan
Deciding
to
leg.
throw first. Game on.
He's been with us since Monday. He's the player that's been in the most matches that have gone the distance.
134.
But he does have some negative experience as well in this situation. It's not been all good for Sebastian.
80.
He's got to chase Alan Norris here, who found a couple of big trebles on that opening visit.
85.
Calls out at himself. A cry of Alan. Wanted more as the dart hits the floor.
120.
Great recovery there, though, from Bialekci. Loses a dart on the floor, didn't stand and look at it, didn't stand and moan his luck. Just found another treble 20 and just keeps pace with
47.
Alan Norris, hoping for that. Hoping for a slip-up. Hoping for a chance. An opportunity.
99.
He's slowly carving out for himself in this one.
80.
Couple of big trebles here. Put this match firmly in the favour of Sebastian.
58. Alan, you record 155.
But it is wide open.
59. Sebastian, you require 144.
Took out a few big ones this week. The 158, the biggest one for
41.
Sebastian
Alan, you
Bialekci.
require 96.
148 for Alan Norris earlier on. It was with two trebles to the double. He only needs one treble in this situation. Not that one. He now needs two.
42.
He has made a mess
Sebastian, you require 103.
of that. Not even able to leave himself on a finish. Sebastian should get a dart. He does get a dart. Alan Norris shakes his head.
85.
He expected
Alan, you require 54.
Sebastian to punish. So to end the day on 6 points. It's double 10 for
Game
Alan Norris
shot
for
and
the
the
points. And Alan Norris will end his day winning 3 matches out of his 4. That gives him a conversion rate of 6 points and puts him second in the table. That will be your first fixture when we come back again tomorrow, when Sebastian Bialekci will be hoping to return the favour and pretty much take Trina Gulliver and Jamie Kelling out of the running. But for today, the points go the way of Alan Norris.
Indeed it does, and in the context of the group, it could be a significant win for Alan Norris.
Yeah, it could. I think it's another one of those days for Sebastian where it started pretty well, but I think he's going to be quite disappointed walking away with 4 points. But Alan worked really hard for the 6 points that he got tonight. He was digging deep. I don't know whether it came across on the camera there, but he was really enjoying the shots that he was getting. But that double 10 tonight has been a saviour.
It most certainly has. Let's have a look then at the table following 10 matches in the group. And, well, it couldn't be any more perfect for Conor Heneghan, really, can it? 4 games, 4 wins, 9 dart finish. He's making this look easy.
Maybe not at times. And I know that winning from 3-0 down against Sebastian, I know that really was a bit of a bonus. But he's definitely in the box seat. But we know from experience that he's not safe yet. Get himself a couple of wins in the first couple of rounds tomorrow, and he will definitely fancy being unbeaten.
Thoughts on Trina Gulliver this evening?
Very encouraging, I think. There was a lot to admire in there. Had some maximums, some key doubles. And I think even if she wasn't to qualify through this group in the top 3, I think she should be very happy with where our game is going at the minute.
I think it's time for us to get some rest and get ready for Group C in the morning. Is that a plan?
Yeah, sounds like a plan. I think Group C tomorrow from 9:30 is going to be very unpredictable. Looking forward to it.
We most certainly are. Join us 9:30 tomorrow morning. It's going to be Group C action for us here at the MODUS Super Series. We're here tonight. Well, Conor Heneghan, he's the man once again. Bye-bye.